Dear viewer, I have summoned you here today as your master to partake in this holy dubbing war. Before we march onto the battlefield, I must give you fair warning. My first command seal, you will know that tonight's battle may contain language and content that may not be suitable for younger participants. Listener discretion is advised. By my second command seal, you must know that spoilers for the entirety of Fate Apocrypha will be discussed in explicit detail tonight, so listen on at your own risk if you've yet to finish the series. And by my final command seal, you should know that the views and opinions expressed here tonight are of the individual participants and do not reflect the views of the Dub Talk podcast as a whole, especially in regards to which characters each participant likes or dislikes. You know, except for Astolfo, who is objectively the best character, and I best not be seeing any gross remarks in the comments in regards to Astolfo's appearance or gender, so help me Nasu. Now, dear viewer, be you a servant of red or a servant of black, may the battle commence. Today, we at Dub Talk begin the war for Fate Apocrypha.
Hello and welcome to Dub Talk, where a group of heroic spirits come together to talk about a recent or classic anime dub. I'm Archer Jet, and tonight I'm joined by Berserker Megan.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I hope you've got your margarita glasses, because I'm one salty motherfuckers, dude.
Caster Roots.
Hello, hello.
And Lancer Andrew.
Hey y'all, what's good everybody? We're gonna talk about how hot everybody is. We're all horny on Maine tonight for Valentine's.
Yep. So we're all here to talk about the dub to A1 Pictures' recent entry in the Fate franchise, Fate Apocrypha.
Boo!
Megan, behave yourself. We just started.
I'm an eternal flame, baby!
Soon,
Alright.
Megan. Soon.
Alright, now then, trying to talk about the actual setup of any Fate series is probably more complicated than the actual story itself, but I'll do my best to give a rundown, so bear with me here.
Okay.
Okay, so this one begins when, after having lost the previous Holy Grail War, a mage named Darnik Presto GARNiDELiA enacts a plan to ensure he can win the next one, and wish on the Holy Grail to restore his dying clan to glory. So to do this, he attempts to bend the rules of the Grail War by having all the servants be summoned by the remaining mages of his own family. Unfortunately for him, though, the Holy Grail apparently has a loophole for this sort of thing, and allows for an additional 7 servants to be summoned. In order to stop GARNiDELiA from obtaining the Grail, the Mages Association sends out a few of their own mages to summon the new servants and participate in the war. Thus begins an all-out battle between these two factions.
Alright, let me explain that in TLDR speak. Okay, are you familiar with what a Holy Grail War is?
No!
In any context? Okay, good. That doesn't fucking matter anyways, because we're taking that concept, we're stretching it by 2, and making it equally as, shit happens, I guess.
When do the waifus show up?
This is Fate. Here's the thing about Fate. They make so many rules, and all of them get broken one way or another. And that is no exception here. The only thing is there's more rules and more people.
When do the waifus show up?
Soon.
So essentially it's on one side, you've got one dude who I think teamed up with Nazis at some point and has his whole clan
and
kind of sort of
backstab the Nazis.
So you got one guy who sort of backstabs the Nazis, kind of hoards a bunch of them, the servants and shit, for his family. And then the Mage Association's like, these people have our fucking grail, we can't let that pass. So they hire a bunch of, like, mages and mercenaries and stuff to try and get that back. but one of them is an OC and essentially kind of takes it and becomes a villain hero character thing. Here's the thing, Fate's weird. There's a lot to talk about. Boy, we have a lot to talk about in terms of characters, in terms of plot, in terms of how fucking much we want to, like, jack it to everybody in this show. Because here's the thing about Fate. Everybody is hot. Whether you're guys, whether you're girls, you're going to find somebody who you're like, man, I am so in love with you. And then you find there's unscalable mountains of porn, and it's great.
And it
also, before...
Just to understand, as I need to cut off Andrew for a second with a command spell, I tell Andrew to shut the fuck up. I have never watched a Fate franchise show in my life.
Actually, this kind of goes into what we should be clarifying. All of us have different expertise in the Fate franchise. Jet is the most experienced of all of us. Megan is the least experienced.
I'm a fucking lab rat tonight!
She was our beautiful, beautiful lab rat. Or our little puppy that got used in the experiment, if you will.
I hope you get your dick sliced in half by a lady with a spike on her hand while she jacks you.
We're off to a great start already. Okay.
Roses are red, violets are blue. You are already dead. Onde shiteru!
In case you can't tell, we're doing this on Valentine's Day because we're all single and lonely, have nothing better to do.
I've got 3 body pillows. What are you talking about?
So, Jet, this is going to be a long night. I think we should start up ADR and writer.
Yes, we should. Okay, so, as Andrew just said, we're going to first talk about our ADR director and our scriptwriter. Our director here is Tony Oliver, while our scriptwriter is Erica Mendez. Erica Mendez is, of course, known for her numerous acting credits, but as far as her script writing is concerned, you may have also seen her work in the dub for Little Witch Academia. Tony Oliver, of course, has done a lot of work behind the booth at this point, and some of his other directing credits include Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, Fate Grand Order, and Love Live. Basically, at this point, I'm pretty sure he's just
Love Live.
Yeah, but basically at this point, I'm pretty sure he's just like the designated Fate guy.
It was all determined by fate.
Boom!
God, you suck!
Boo!
Okay.
My mom's already
Okay, and so what are your thoughts, Andrew?
I gotta say, I could talk a lot about the actual acting and the writing and stuff, all of which is pretty strong and standard. But first, I want to give praise to the actual, like, circumstances of this particular dub in and of itself, because this is a Bang Zoom project, and this is also a Netflix original anime, as in, they are paying for this to be dubbed, and they are paying to exclusively stream it. And they released this relatively fast, comparatively. Like, how do I describe it? Basically, it came out in the first half of the series came out in the summer, which was basically 12 episodes, and the first part of it was on Netflix dubbed in November. So that is almost near, like, broadcast dub level of speed, and they were probably already working on this as it was still airing. And to do that all in a fairly short amount of time with a larger cast of people and all make it sound really good, consistent, and really strong and good at times is commendable on both the direction and the writing. Both Tony Oliver and Erica Mendez, fantastic job on both of your parts. A lot of performances are really good. The script is pretty solid and interesting, especially with what you're given with. But I think the adaptation of lines and the direction and character performances are good.
Okay.
And
yes, it's your turn.
Oh, I forgot we're doing the order. So let me go up straight off the bat and explain this. When I say I've never watched a Fate show, I mean, like, I've never actually sat down and watched more than, like, a clip in passing. I think I've seen, like, the last... Let me go with this. The only time I've ever actually, like, the first time I got exposed to Fate was at, like, 16, when the Dean Stay Night was playing at the hotel at the convention I was on, and I saw the last episode, and I thought Saber was really pretty, and I wanted to dress up like her, but I had no idea what the show was, or that the franchise was. I've had this on my list to watch, I've just never sat down and watched it. So when they said we wanted to do Apocrypha, I'm like, you know what? I have a Netflix subscription and I hate myself. Why not? This is a bad idea because I think this show is disappointing as shit. And it was a waste of my time. That being said, I did give this a W for my best ensemble cast last year as my silver medalist behind ASCA. It is a really, really good dub for a show that is very disappointing to me. Like, I thought a lot of the performances were really great. I thought the writing was very, 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 very good. I think that, especially in the writing, that when it needed to be over the top and hammy in the direction of the writing front, it was, but when it needed to be toned back for as much as the show could tone itself back, it was really good. It found a way to be endearing, and I will admit, if I had watched the show in the Japanese, like, if it had been on, like, say, like, Crunchyroll or Funimation now, I would have dropped the show completely. So for once, it being behind the Netflix time wall actually was a good thing. And I give a lot of praise to Erica, especially. God, this poor woman had to write "EGOIST Millennia" a million times. I stole that joke from Patrick Seitz, and I'm not even fucking sorry.
It's true though.
It's true though, but Jesus, like, Godspeed to you, it's Mendez, right? Yeah, Mendez. No, is it Harwich or Mendez?
It's Mendez.
Okay, good. Like, seriously, Erica Mendez, like, is a trooper for writing this show, because if I saw the plot of this show on paper, I'd think you were smoking something.
To be fair, the plot on paper for most Fate concepts is pretty what the fuck. This is just
like, seriously, like, whoever just, like, Type Moon just sitting in okay, wait, no, weed is, like, super illegal in Japan, so I can't make a weed joke.
I'll give you the technicality right there and stop you that this is technically not written by Type Moon. This is written by another person.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Fate in general. The concept of Fate was created on drugs. Drugs and the need to fuck. And the need to fuck a King Arthur storybook.
No, it's that he fell asleep on a history textbook, and then he dreamed of King Arthur in a bikini, and it's like, fuck it!
I don't know, here's the thing, I don't know if you're lying to me or not.
I don't know if I'm lying to you either, so let's move on.
But yeah, no, I thought the direction was really good, and especially, this is something I want to bring up right now. I usually have a really, really, really big issue with shows with smaller casts having multiple actors play multiple characters. Usually that'll take a dub down for me, because I'm like, there's a lot of characters in this show, but this isn't like Naruto or Fairy Tail, where it's like hundreds of episodes long with hundreds of, like, major characters. I didn't actually find that to be a super big problem in this show, because those characters did have distinct enough voices and personalities in their voices that I could overlook it. I do, on a technical level, I am gonna knock it down, like, a little bit under ASCA 13, because ASCA 13 had about as large of a cast too, but was able to have individual actors for individual things. And I know that there's a difference between the Texas actor pool, the Funimation pool, and the Bang Zoom pool, obviously with union and non-union, so I don't want to be too harsh on that, but it is something I will say this time. I'll let it slide because it was directed well enough that I could look past it. But other than that, I thought this was really solid, and it got my silver W for Best Ensemble for a reason. Excuse me.
Okay, so what say you, Roots?
I actually did also give this one of my W's for Best Director, Tony Oliver. It was a very strongly directed dub. And, you know, I do have to agree with Megan a little bit on the double casting. That is a very slight gripe for me. But, on the flip side, having watched a little bit of other Fate shows, I think Zero is the only one I've actually seen through to completion, I actually do have to give Tony Oliver and the casting director a lot of props for getting a bunch of the people from Fate Zero back to reprise their roles.
Or as many as, like, you could physically get back, yeah.
Right. And as for script writing, I have a lot of respect for Erica Mendez for the things she had to write about for this show. Like, there is a character in particular that we'll be getting to that required a little bit of delicacy to explain, and I think she did a really good job with her. And like Andrew said, when the script had to be hammy, it was absolutely hammy, and when it had to be a little more somber, it was able to adjust accordingly. And that's it. Jet?
Alright, so I guess it's my turn.
Indeed.
Alright. Okay, so as we've already established, Tony Oliver has handled most of the Fate stuff at this point, and given that he was willing to take on a simultaneous schedule to keep the reins on it, I'm pretty sure it's probably to him with the Garo franchise as a Caitlyn class. So I certainly don't have any complaints about that, though, because he's generally done a lot of his best work on a Fate franchise, and he does a really great job of taking such big ensembles of actors and making sure they all sound really distinct and memorable. Out of the Fate entries I've heard, though, I'd probably say this one is my favorite of the bunch. While I was pretty happy with the other Fate dubs, some of the individual performances were a little more hit or miss to me. But with this one, I was satisfied with basically every performance, and the cast was an interesting mix of new faces, familiar ones, and a veteran that we haven't seen in a good while. So it's pretty great stuff. The script is also solid, and I can't think of anything I would really nitpick on that end. Fate's prose can be kind of tricky to write in English, but Erica Mendez did a great job of making the dialogue work without ever making it sound too over the top. And given how particular Type Moon fans can be, it was very good that she was careful with where she took liberties, and I never felt like there was anything out of place.
Yeah? Well said. Well said. Well said.
Okay, so with that, it is about time to get started on these characters, because we have a lot of them.
How many? We're covering tonight 25.
There's like a million characters!
We're covering 25 individual people, by the way.
Yep. So
How are we grouping it, Jet?
Okay, we are grouping it in terms of classes, and we are pairing the masters with their servants, because it would take too long otherwise.
The story also made it easier because literally most of the Red Faction masters don't fucking exist.
They're locked in. They're
so busy getting high that they can't even bother.
I was gonna be in a Grail War, but then I got
high.
I was gonna get up and kill some servants, but then I got high.
Was gonna go.
Now my servants are all dead, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, because we got high. Because we got high. Because we got high.
We're gonna have fun tonight. All right.
Okay, so like I said before, we're gonna start diving into our cast here, but we're gonna do a little something different tonight. Normally, the host for the episode handles the character introductions. But because so many of these characters come from different myths, and I didn't want to drive myself insane to having to look up all of them myself.
You drove yourself insane putting this episode together, so I can mention
I love you, Chet. This took him several hours to even organize.
Several days, thank you.
Several days.
Yeah, okay, so anyway, we decided to divide it up so that each of tonight's participants was responsible for looking up the characters for 2 out of the 8 classes being covered. So first up, we have the Berserker class.
That's me, bitch!
Featuring the Berserkers of Red and Black, as well as Callus for GARNiDELiA, the Master of Berserker of Black. And like we just said, having the Berserkers, we have Megan.
That's me, bitch! First off, I would like to state that Callus of the Millennia is tiny magical Hotchkin from Silver Spoon. I'm not wrong.
You're not.
Honestly, you're not.
Seriously, look, if you've never seen Silver Spoon, look up a picture of Kalis and then look up a picture of Hodgkin and tell me that's not like his level 36 evolution. Anyway, starting with Berserker of Red, it's Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I've waited like a couple of months for this, and that the person who gets to do disclaimer is the one who does the best Ryan Stiles doing Carol Channing impression. Because if you've never watched Whose Lines It Anyway, look up the one where, I think it's like, famous movie speeches is if they were done by Carol Channing. And one of the ones that they do is from the movie Spartacus, where she goes, I'm Spartacus. Speaking of Spartacus, he is a Thyraxian gladiator who, along with Gallus, Citrix, Ganius, and Cassus and Onomiasius, was one of the escaped slave leaders in the Third Servile War, a major slave uprising against the Roman Republic. All sources agree that he was a former gladiator and accomplished military leader. He was an excellent tactician, though the rebels lacked military training, the display and skillful use of local available materials and taxes while facing the Roman armies. Unfortunately, Spartacus died in 71 BC, but they never did recover his body. In Fate, he is a giant burly dude who spends the first 12 episodes of this show running around in the woods screaming.
Oppressors will be crushed!
Like, and he's also like, he looks like a bad, sweaty, panting leather daddy.
Like we said, there's a servant for everyone.
Oh boy, is there.
I'm pretty sure he'd be the one that Hardy would jack it to.
Oh no!
Cut that out in post, please. Cut that out in post.
No, keep it, bitch! But no, my exact notes for him in Fate are big burly dude go charge, get captured and died. More he gets hit, the bigger he gets. Like, he turns into some, like, eldritch abomination, like, towards the end of the first half.
You see, fellow viewer, his safe word is oppressor.
Fuck, you're not wrong. Anyway, so the Berserker of Black is Frankenstein, or at least Frankenstein's monster, because good little boys and girls know that Frankenstein was the doctor. Anyway.
Yes, make sure you clarify that.
Yes. If you don't know, Frankenstein's originally a story by Mary Shelley, queen of science fiction, fuck off boys, girls did it first. Created by Victor Frankenstein using chemistry and alchemy, the creator runs away horrified by his mistakes of creating life. The monster takes shelter in a cottage owned by peasants and learns to speak, but they run him out and he finds Victor's note. So he swears revenge and goes off and kills Dr. Frankenstein's brother and says, bitch, make me a wife. But so Frankenstein does, and Frankenstein's like, oh, I fucked up again, and kills it. So the monster kills Frankenstein and his BFF and his wife, and then runs away to the Arctic Circle. Victor dies because he falls in the Arctic Circle water and catches pneumonia. Clearly somebody was not watching A Place Further Than the Universe to learn what's not to do in the Arctic.
Make sure to have your appendix pre-removed, by the way. Holy shit.
Also, remember, these girls aren't legal. The monster finds out that Frankenstein dies, and he runs off to the Arctic to basically go burn himself. In Fate Apocrypha, now you want to fuck Frankenstein. She's hot. She's waifu bait of the year. Kind of like the story, but now a hot chick. Same backstory, but kind of not. Also sexy sex.
See, I like at least her design in the grounds. I kind of appreciate... Out of all the...
Oh, come on, you jack it to Frankenstein.
Honestly, I couldn't, because she's kind of just adorable and moe as shit to me. Which, by the way, I like how the confirmed canon otaku master gets the single most moe servant out of all of them.
Oh yeah, I forgot Kalis probably has a body pillow of, like, fucking King Arthur in his bathroom.
He watches pre very legally. Anyways,
he's probably the type to watch Fate Khalid.
No! Give some more dignity to Callus.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I'm sorry. Callus is kind of a bro.
Anyways, I actually, out of all the
it's
Rule
Gord
63
who'd watch Fate, Khalid.
Out of all the Rule 63 potential characters for Fate you could do, Frankenstein's monster actually kind of makes sense on the grounds that he does like ask to have a wife made. So the
yeah, but I just find it really funny that really funny that though like they're like Berserker, like the Berserker of Red is like the fucking fuggliest thing in the show, and like
she's cute as hell.
Berserker Black is like waifu.
I'm also convinced that the wedding dress in and of itself is most likely a reference to Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's probably the Bride of Frankenstein, but they just call her Fran and she gets all mad. Anyway, Jet, you're in charge again.
Yep. Okay, so playing Berserker of Red, we have Joshua Tomar. For Berserker of Black, we have Sarah Ann Williams. And for Callus, we have Tom Bauer. Oh, hopefully I didn't botch that. So Joshua Tomar has been around for a while, and while he doesn't have too much in the way of big roles, you may have also heard him as Lolo in Balki, The Kingdom of Magic, Hakuzoku in Nura Rise of the Yokai Clan Season 2, and the Magic Shop owner in Little Witch Academia. Sarah Ann Williams is a name we've talked about a couple of times before, but you've also heard her as Yuriko in Excel World, Nonon in Kill la Kill, and of course, Sayaka in Madoka Magica.
Sayaka did nothing wrong!
Okay, and as for Tom Bauer, he's been around for a while, but hasn't really had any named anime roles until recently. As far as his other work goes, you may have also heard him as Phaeton in Hunter x Hunter, Daichi in Mob Psycho 100, and Hush in Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphan Season 2.
Is he the one that has the sister being dated by the guy?
No.
No.
He's the one that looks like Katsuki Bakugo almost completely.
Yeah,
I'm being serious. He looks just like Katsuki Bakugo. Look it up.
Oh my.
Yeah, except he's like not an angry boy.
He's actually a pretty interesting character. I'm kind of liking him. Anyways, yeah.
No, Megan has also never seen a Gundam show in her life.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going first again, Andrew.
Okay, cool. Alright, so I'm gonna start with, Oppressor. I mean, Spartacus. Masochistic psychopath Spartacus is a strange mood, but it works real well. He sounds really great, though. Really distinct and interesting voice. Masochistic freak show literally on verge of explosive climax is not what I expected of a character like Spartacus, but here we are. Joshua Tomar, really interesting voice. We haven't really heard much of him, or at least gotten to talk about him on the show. I really like the way his voice sounds. He just screamed and sounded good a lot in this, but I'll give credit where credit's due. Next up, I'm going to talk about Tom Bauer as Callus, because he's actually a pretty important character in the show itself. Tom Bauer is a fairly new name, one I don't think we've yet to cover on Dub Talk, but I really liked his performance. He was fairly standard, like, in appearance, but when he came to show his emotions, anger, and awkward otaku nerd side, he showed his stuff. Like I said, he literally has the most moe servant in this show, and that's amazing, but I truly really love the chemistry with him and Fran. Also, credit to Tom. Holy fucking shit, those screams of pain and agony trying to relive somebody's dying moments. Fucking stupendous. Great job on you, Tom. I look forward to talking about you more in the future. I really like where you're heading, buddy. Now, the one I really wanted to talk about, one I think all of us are going to want to talk about the most. Let's talk Sarah Ann Williams as Frankenstein's monster, or Fran, aka Precious Cinnamon Roll, too good for this earth. It's genuinely kind of impressive how much they made me care for a character who only really talks and screams and grunts. But I could absolutely tell what she was thinking or feeling and how much power and effort she was giving off each time. Sarah's fantastic at action dialogue for a character almost exclusively oriented to action dialogue, while still being cute as fuck! Well done. I really wanted to give Fran a hug, even if that spike would stab the shit out of me. and god damn it, does she not go out in the most badass way possible! Just fucking, she pulls an Android 16, wraps her arm around Mordred's neck, and just screams, I will take you with me, Saber is so cool! Also, she gets a callback in the penultimate episode, which is totally fucking stupid, but it's kind of awesome, so whatever.
It sticks the landing.
I'm done. I'm done. Megan, you go.
I am an eternal flame, baby! I don't know why. Okay, so Spartacus. Because I watched the first half of the show back in, like, on my during my awful lonely Thanksgiving weekend. My Thanksgiving sucked this year. Spartacus I remember for being, like, he had a pretty cool voice for a giant panting leather daddy. Cause he's just, it kind of I know this is gonna sound really weird, but the only thing that's popping into my head is of Mice and Men. I just imagine George from Mice and Men if he was this giant bloated thing running through the fucking woods. And he seemed to have this, like, gleeful, sadistic side to his voice.
Pet the bunnies, oppressor!
Yes.
Tell me about the oppressors, George.
Why did I make this worse? God, I miss Team Grimgar does episodes. I miss doing episodes with you motherfuckers. So he was good. Kalis, aka Hotchkin with magic, legitimately, if Aniplex ever decided to make a smart decision to pull their head out of their ass about Silver Spoon, if Tom Bauer isn't Hotchkin, I would actually punch somebody at Aniplex. He was great. As much as I kind of grew to hate Kalis at the end, because there is some bullshit they pull with him and his sister where he has to do those screams of pain. Not the stuff where they're reading the Jack the Ripper. Like, I seriously thought, like, somebody actually, like, gave poor Tom Bauer 500,000 volts straight to the nips with how hard he was screaming. But he also got a lot of, Kalis's, like, little brother and shit across. Like, being the brother who wants to protect his sister and, like, grows to become his own man. Because he's kind of shy and wimpy at the beginning. And then by the end, he's sitting in not Lancer's. Is it Lancer? I don't know. Not dude's room being like, oh yeah, I guess at the head of the EGOIST or whatever come here. They'd get arrested on the spot. Surprise, motherfucker. Wait, what? But yeah, no, we're all here to talk about the true hero of this story that isn't Mordred, Frankenstein, who, God, Sarah Williams is such a good fucking actress.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard when characters have to play, like, mute or non-verbal characters to get across a lot of their emotions and stuff. And she did it. And her screams were great. And, like, pour one out for Fran when she fucking tries to take Mordred out. She was, like, only the second person done, like, super dirty in the show behind Mordred herself, which we'll get there. But, like, I loved Sarah's last lines and, like, that she got... and she also made her really cute, as much as the design of this character is kind of bothersome, but she made the role, like, she could do cute and super powerful to me, and that really came across for a character that doesn't speak and doesn't get to be in a lot of the show. Which was a shame, because I totally would have rather had her stick around than, like, I don't know, fucking Semiramis.
Pick a red servant. Like, at least half of them exist.
Kayron can bite it.
He you know what? He does get one of the best fights in the show, so whatever. Anyways, continue.
I know, that's why I didn't want to take any of the black servants out. Fuck the red team.
Fuck the red team.
Fuck the red team.
Blue team for life, motherfucker.
Black team for life, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what about you, Roots?
You're gonna fuck them up, black team.
Alright, why don't I just start with Callus and get to the
Sure.
servants? I really liked that he was such a dweeb in the beginning of the show. And then, for the second core, he just sort of mans up and God, the Jack the Ripper arc.
We'll get to that. Continue.
Boo!
Yeah, with the, where he's just sitting in the chair recreating this dead guy's memories in his head, and he's just screaming.
It was hard to watch, yeah.
Yeah, got a beer.
Like, it was painful to hear. Because those screams sounded real and visceral and...
Mm-hmm.
Like pin under the fingernail, man. And I do have a lot of respect for toward the end of the show when he sort of when he decides to take on the big brother. I'm sorry, he's the little brother.
He's the little brother, yes.
Yeah, but he decides to be the brother of the situation, takes on his sister's magic, and then proceeds to... it's so hard to describe what I really like Tom Bauer in the role, though.
That's basically what you're trying to get across.
Right, right. Moving on to Spartacus. Like, it was really cool. Part of this, I have to give credit to the script writing, because they do play him as sort of the caveman want crush oppressors kind of thing. Typically, that doesn't really work a lot, but here... With this character in particular, I actually kind of liked it, and God, what can I say about Sarah Ann Williams' Frankenstein that hasn't already been said?
Berserker.
Like she.
Is your love for her like a truck roots?
God damn it!
I'm so glad you were the one that said it and not me, because I was going to.
God damn it, Jet.
Your love for her was like a truck.
But... Okay, and this is gonna be kind of bad, but in her fight...
Over under that I get to smack you in the face in AB.
In her fight with Mordred, when she's actually, she's actually screaming and getting real visceral. I kind of heard Tifa from Final Fantasy VII Abridged.
Tifa! Okay, yeah. Yeah, she...
Like, that's... I don't want to say that it's a bad thing, because I really liked it, but...
No, it's very... Tifa in FF7 Machine of Ridge kind of proves really how impressive her acting range is, especially her screaming. Like, that's not an exaggeration. She can do that fairly naturally.
Don Cornello's Chocobo fuckwagon.
But yeah, like, I really... As much as I fear for her vocal cords, I would like to see screamy Sarah Ann Williams more.
Dude, I want to see more of her in general. She's fantastic in the stuff I've heard her of late.
Alright, so I guess it's my turn.
Proceed, friend.
Okay, yep. So Joshua Tobar didn't have, like, a ton to work with here, but he certainly sounded like he was having fun with it, and I really liked his voice. And I definitely got a laugh out of how he delivered the whole "This is Spartacus" line. Because
I forgot about that.
By the way,
that was his big moment, and he just went for it.
That was, according to friends, according to sources, that was in fact in the original Japanese.
Yeah, I actually went to compare it right on the spot. That was in fact the original line.
Thanks, Japan.
Okay, so Sarah Ann Williams' performance here was certainly interesting because, like you guys were saying, while she didn't have to speak any lines, there were like more than a few moments where she had to convey the obnoxious emotions through grunts alone, and I could really feel it when she did. One of the moments that really got me was like that whole sequence where she imagined tearing apart Dr. Frankenstein for rejecting her. And, like, you can really just feel how much of that rage it was conveying just entirely through screens, and it was really impressive.
Oh, I forgot when she was crying, too. Holy shit.
Yeah.
How dare you. Make her face sweat, not her panties.
Okay, Tom Bauer is, of course, a big one here, and while I've heard him in a couple of other roles before, this is definitely the biggest one he's had so far, and he did a really great job with it. He got across that whole, like, guy in the middle thing pretty well. And I really liked all of his interactions with both Frankenstein's monster and with Fiore, since you can kind of tell how much he wanted to look after them. And I mean, it probably helped that he kind of got the best development of the whole EGOIST gang, and it was nice kind of seeing him take on more responsibility towards the end and kind of, like you guys were saying, become his own man.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say of the few roles I've heard of Dom, it's probably my favorite of his yet. Until, like, Phaeton shows his shit in a couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
You need to, like, craft open those Hunter x Hunter Blu-rays.
Man.
I still don't have them. I never paged them all. I'm too lazy to.
Man, you are so gonna love Hunter x Hunter when you finally watch it.
Yeah.
Oh! You reminded me of something I'm doing tonight.
I'm frightened.
Yep. Okay, and with that, I think it's time to move on.
Okay.
So,
You good?
next up...
I'm not good at all. You met a dolphin without me.
Okay, so while Megan's recovering, next up we have the casters of Red and Black, as well as caster of Black's Master, Rocher, Frey, EGOIST. And this one's going to be you, Roots.
Alright, let's do this. So, also known as the Bard, William Shakespeare was one of the greatest playwrights of the modern era. He was responsible for such works as The Tempest, Hamlet, and a personal favorite, Henry VIII. As caster of Red, Shakespeare was the Red faction's information gatherer. His noble phantasm, First Folio, is incredibly powerful illusion magic which can dredge up and recreate traumatic memories. He survived slightly beyond the end of the Holy Grail War. Now, Evisabron, aka Solomon Abe Gabriel, was an 11th century poet and philosopher whose musings on the nature of life and purpose served as debate among Jewish, Christian, and Muslim faiths. He is also credited as creating the first golem. As caster of Black, his goal was to finish his noble phantasm, Gomer Keto Malkut, a perfect being that could recreate Eden on Earth were it allowed to be completed.
Okay, that was short and sweet.
Now, Roche Frayne Yggdrasilia was caster of Black's master. He was a
And he died.
Fucking boned.
He was.
I don't think we need to go into the
okay,
Masters. The Masters, like, we'll go into them when we talk about them. Most of them kind of don't do much, so don't worry.
Yeah.
We don't need notes on them.
He was good at making golems, and then
Roche was a golem.
He had a big heart. He had a big heart.
Oh.
Okay, even
get
I'm not
off the
that
stage,
mean.
you suck.
Speaking of
Even I'm not that
stage,
mean.
speaking of stage, Jet. Who
Okay.
plays our playwright?
Yep. So playing caster of Red, we have Keith Silverstein. Playing caster of Black, we have Kim Clark. And for Rocher, we have Erica Mendez. Keith Silverstein is a pretty recognizable face in anime dubs, and some of his other work includes Coyote Stark in Bleach, Speedwagon in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Johann Liebert in Monster. Kim Clark, on the other hand, has been around for a couple of decades, but he hasn't really done too much in recent years, and seems to just be recently returning to doing regular anime work. Some of his other roles include Richard Brown in Monster, Prince Milo in Nazca Valley of the Wind, and Kaneda in the original streamlined dub for Akira.
Not to mention, I gotta bring this up, he was Leonardo in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Was he really?
Yes, he was.
Wow.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Golems, Teenage Mutant Ninja Golems, Teenage Mutant Ninja Golems.
Heroes in a golem.
Roche is dead.
Okay, so Erica Mendez.
I swear to God, Erica Mendez is gonna meet me one day and go, "What is wrong with you?"
So Erica Mendez is, of course, a very familiar name to us here, and some of her other work includes Aladdin in Magi the Labyrinth of Magic, Nico in Love Live, and Akari in A Lull in the Sea.
Can I say something really quick?
Make it quick.
Well, it's good to see that Roche follows in the Erica Mendez tradition of dying, since Nico Yazawa was found dead in Miami.
Okay, Megan, am I going to have to give you the Nico D?
Yeah,
Nico, no.
Nico,
no.
All right.
Okay, so go ahead, Andrew.
All right, I will do just that. Let me find my notes because this is a lot to try and remember some of these because this is a lot. Roche is quick. Sounded like cute, precious little boy Erica, and I think she did a great job at making him sound like a cute, precious little boy who was too good, and then he died. So, rip him. Caster Black. I'm not very familiar with Cam Clark, but he's been around for a while. I really like the tone of his voice. It's very distinct, very official, very astute, very clearly knowing what it wants. He's laid back but dignified, and he sounds very powerfully invested in his drive and his goals, and I thought that was really interesting. The character really doesn't do much. The most notable thing is that he basically is one of the bigger heel turns in the series for straight up betraying the Black faction. By the way, something I noticed, I think only 2 of the actual 7 Black servants were completely loyal beginning to end. And that was Fran and Archer of Black, which we will get to later. But so yeah, but anyways, I really liked Cam Clark as the caster of Black. He had a really cool, interesting voice. I just don't think there was much to the character. Which is the opposite, I'm gonna say, about Keith Silverstein as fucking Shakespeare! It was so good! Mwah! Mwah! God damn it. It was, he's chewing the scenery the second he shows up.
I'm surprised that the first character that Andrew splooshes for is not a female, but a guy.
Hisoka is Shakespeare, Megan! Hisoka is Shakespeare.
Shokugeki no Shakespeare?
Not the one I'm thinking of, but no. Shakespeare, imagine Shakespeare doing a swing, and that's where we're at right now, because it's...
like Hisoka, swing!
Basically, except that, but with his like, quill. Like, Shakespeare in the show,
You're assuming that Hisoka has a normal penis.
Anyways, unrelated. He's just Shakespeare is this show. I wasn't sure what to expect, but as soon as I realized his role was literally chaotic observer, and he was basically Q in the final episodes, I kind of realized, you know what? You're actually much more interesting than I gave you credit for. I wasn't sure what to expect, but he is kind of just... His noble phantasm is character development, by the way. Just pointing that out there.
If only more writers had that as their noble phantasm.
If only this writer had that as their noble phantasm. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Bam. Anyways, no. Fucking, I adore Keith Silverstein. He is having the time of his life. And the other times he's saying thou and thart or art I. It's so good. It's so... Every second he's on screen is a treat. I love it. Great job, Keith Silverstein. You were having so much fun. Great job. I'm done.
Is it bad that I want Keith Silverstein Shakespeare versus Kun Kun from Devilman Crybaby in a rap-off?
That would be beautiful.
Are you saying Keith Silverstein versus Johnny Young Bosch? It's basically just Devilman Crybaby again.
No, I meant Keith... Oh, I got his character wrong. No, I'm saying Keith Silverstein's Shakespeare versus his character in Devilman Crybaby.
No, you got it right, Andrew's just an idiot.
Okay.
I don't remember their names, sorry.
Jet, that's every day. I love you too, Andrew. Roses are red, violets are blue, you're a little shit, but I love you.
We're gonna keep reminding you this is on Valentine's Day. Continue.
Yes, we are! Take a shot every time! No, so I want to talk about Solomon and Roche first. I thank you all for picking up the Skype call tonight because I fucking called that Roche was gonna bite it. I called it from, like, episode 1. I was like, this little kid is way too spunky next to this emo goth.
Yeah.
That's the face of a motherfucker who's getting betrayed. Which, this is one of 2 characters. This is one of the roles, I'll talk about the other one later, where I am completely okay with this person, Erica Mendez, playing 2 characters, spoiler alert, sorry. Because she did actually do a really convincing little boy voice. Erica Mendez is really good at playing little boys. I used the correct wording this time, so don't even.
Thank you.
But, Roche was an interesting voice. I think that she played the naivete and, like, hero worship Roche has for Solomon really well. Because essentially Roche was like Solomon's little puppy, and his master could do no wrong. And I think she really pulled off the death scene for Roche really well. Cam Clark as Solomon is actually one of the performances I super like in this. He wasn't over-the-top hammy because the character itself wasn't over-the-top and hammy. He did play kind of like that quiet observer character really well. Where it's like, yeah, no, I really don't fucking care what's happening. I'm just gonna make my golems. And my only question is, how did he survive after killing Roche? Because I thought once your master dies, you as a servant die immediately.
He made a contract.
Okay, no.
That's right, he made a contract with Shiro.
It's kind of confusing, but basically how it works is that if a master dies, the servant can survive so long as they enter a new contract right away.
Which is what happens earlier in the show.
Oh yeah, he entered into a new contract. But
it
was convoluted plot bullshit at that point. Like, I think I'd kind of like zoned out for a second, so my apologies.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's okay. Basically, it's just the way the war works. That it ends when all the servants are dead. The masters are kind of like they're more disposable.
Clearly, because Roche got turned into Golem. I actually thought Roche was a homunculus that was just really smart at first, and then I was like, oh, he's actually another Yigita Millennia. To which, good job, Yigita Millennia, dude, keeping your legacy alive, because all you've got left is incest and a fat guy. Magical citrus coming this fall. Orange, okay, just because it's Valentine's Day and Twitter and Crunchyroll delete this, can I please say that the best worst Valentine's this year was the citrus promo art, and it says, "Orange, you glad we aren't blood related?"
You know, I'm not even gonna lie, that one made me laugh hard. That one killed me.
That was actually one of the best ones, and I'm upset they deleted it.
Because everybody was like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? And I respect that they did that, even though it was terrible.
Thank you to the Crunchyroll intern and/or Miles who made that shitty joke. I don't know the difference between them anymore.
Let's be real, it was probably Miles.
Miles.
Hi, Miles.
But, anyway, on to, the third most wasted character in this show, Shakespeare. Hell yeah, Shakespeare! He was great! I loved Keith Silverstein can basically do no fucking wrong at this point. He was having so much fun, and he brought so much life into the bastion of goth gloom that was the Hanging Gardens. Like, him just fucking with people was great, and you can hear it in his voice. He's like, haha, I'm an asshole, I am an asshole, and like, just also when Semiramis threatens him and stuff, like, when he turns into a sniveling little bitch, it was also really good. Like, there's just something so fun and just energetic about him, where it's just like, he's the guy in the apocalypse sitting in the bar with his drink, just writing it going, the world's going to shit, but I'm gonna have so much fun with this.
He also totally called her unrequited love bullshit, because he's like, love stories are great, unrequited's better, don't you think?
Yeah, by the way, fuck that.
We'll get to that later.
Anyway, I'm done. Roots, go have your fun with your group.
Alright, so starting off with Roche, I liked the performance, but there really wasn't a lot to it. Like, Roche was basically, like Megan said, the doting puppy, and then, you know, what typically happens to doting puppies in movies?
They die.
Bad things.
What happens to the puppy in this show? He's literally turned into an experiment.
So are you telling me that at the end of the night, you guys are gonna, like, suddenly appear behind me and gut me like a fish?
And moving on to Avisa Braun, I get to talk about Cam Clark on Dub Talk. Yes!
Yay.
I love this performance. I loved it. I hate the character, but I love the performance.
That's fair.
He was basically this solemn, gloomy, I hate people, that basic archetype to a T. He didn't need to be hammy, but, you know, it's hard to put this into words, just why I like the performance, but it was almost monotone, which fit the character really, really well. Can't say that about Shakespeare, though. Like, holy shit, Keith Silverstein gives him so much energy. It's beautiful, and in that little sizzler right before the big war starts up, where he's addressing the audience directly.
Oh, I love that.
He's breaking
like,
the
hey,
fourth
y'all.
wall. Like, hey, you're the audience. Keep your eyes here. Shit's about to go down. And I promise you, it's gonna be awesome shit.
And it kind of was.
I'm not gonna lie, it was awesome shit.
Yeah.
Visually, yes. Storytelling was,
I'll pour some more salt on your fries, Megan. Continue.
Look, for one, I actually hate French fries. I know, I'm an American heathen. How dare I be this fat and not like French fries?
Okay.
And honestly, it's kind of a shame that the dub had to come out last year, because Keith Silverstein would have been a huge Golden Ham contender this year had the dub come out all at once. And with that, I will send it over to Jet.
Okay. Well, Keith Silverstein's job here was basically just to be as big a ham as possible, and since the man is also the voice of Speedwagon, it goes without saying that he knows how to deliver some quality ham. And every line he made just sounded like he was having a lot of fun in the booth. Cam Clark didn't really have too much to do here in comparison, but it was really nice to hear him again after such a long time, since I think the last thing I really heard of him in was Deathly Monster. So he definitely gave a lot of presence.
At least somebody in this podcast got to hear Monster.
I did too. It's been a long time.
It's okay. Someone will license it someday, maybe.
Never.
Please.
It's been 87 years.
Come on, Discotech. I know you can do it, man. You got this.
We believe the Discotech that believes in you.
Amen.
Okay, so anyway, he definitely gave a lot of presence to Caster here. And my favorite moment of his was definitely like his little disguised like smirk when he decided to backstab Rocher and make him a golem. Like, I thought that was pretty amusing. And speaking of Rocher, he didn't really have much to do here besides being golem fodder. But Erica Mendez did a pretty good job of him. She's basically an expert at doing little boy voices at this point. And she was great at making him sound enthusiastic and full of energy, which makes the whole backstab thing hit just a little bit harder, even if it was pretty obvious he was screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of backstabbing...
Oh boy, time for some fun, people.
Yep, and yeah, we're going to be getting onto the full Soul Train here, because the next section is the Assassins.
Let's just rip off the Band-Aid.
So, I have a question. Hang on, Megan, before we do this, Megan. Do you want to keep your rant to your section? Do you want to keep your rant to your section, or do you want to just do it now?
I want the floor clear, so let me do it in my section. It's not going to work unless we get this out.
Got
okay.
it. Yeah. Okay.
So we're covering the Assassin of Black, okay, and the Assassin of Red, as well as the Assassin of Black's master, Reiko Rikudo. So that's what is once again you, Roots.
Indeed. So I will start off with Assassin of Red, aka Semiramis, who who was an Assyrian queen. Depending on who you ask, she was either a demigoddess of a fish god, responsible for just about every one of Assyria's greatest accomplishments, or she was a harlot and a homewrecker. Like, there is no middle ground on her. Researching this was interesting. It's unclear where her Fate Apocrypha powers actually originate, and it's likely a combination of the good and the bad legends about her.
It seems like a good mix of both, that she is like a powerful fish lady, and she is basically a homewrecker.
Is that why she could summon hydras and shit?
I think that's why.
Probably. But, so, she is the servant of Shiro, and also a poison master, not to mention her noble phantasm, the Hanging Garden of Babylon, which, by the way, I could find no reference to Semiramis in any.
It was just cool.
Right.
It was literally existed to move the plot. It's literally moving the plot.
God damn it.
It's literally moving the plot!
Yeah, because the Hanging Garden of Babylon is literally the Red Faction's mobile base of operations.
Also, isn't in real life the Hanging Gardens of Babylon one of the 7 wonders of the world?
Yes.
Yep.
It's like what? That, the Lighthouse at the Library of Alexandria, the Great Pyramids,
And there's a couple
Stonehenge.
others, yeah.
Damn
Yeah,
it, fuck, this is gonna bother me until I can do it all.
Yeah, we'll look
right.
it up after we're done. But I need to move on, because we're starting to go a little over.
We accepted we were going to go over, but please tell me more about Jack.
So, Jack the Ripper was a serial killer that menaced the women of the Whitechapel district of London in the late 19th century. The killer's actual identity to this day remains unknown, and there is in fact evidence that suggests there may have been more than one killer.
There's a lot of different legends on Jack the Killer, and which was the one this particular series used?
Okay, so in Fate Apocrypha, Jack the Ripper was a wraith that was basically made up of a bunch of souls of children. I'm not going to tell you the particulars, because that's really grisly and ugly details that we don't need to go into in this episode.
Basically, the shittiest, grimiest parts of London, accentuated by children.
Right. She initially killed her intended master, and she ended up bonding with a woman who I think she was basically like a sacrifice.
She was
gonna be sacrificed to summon her.
Yes.
So Jack was basically defeated at the end of her arc when Ruler purified all of the souls that created her and helped them find eternal peace.
Mm-hmm.
And her noble phantasm is Maria the Ripper. It's not clearly explained in the show, but it basically allows her to one-shot kill any woman as long as certain conditions are met.
That is explained terribly in the fucking show. I'm not gonna lie, that is actually very poorly conveyed what that was.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed it was illusion magic, like with Shakespeare's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so playing Assassin of Black, we have Erica Mendez again. And playing both Assassin of Red and Reika, we have Allegra Clark. Allegra Clark has a few video game roles, as well as a couple of upcoming anime roles we can't talk about yet. But as far as audiences are concerned, this show was basically her big debut in anime. So, what say you, Andrew?
I'm going to say, I find it fascinating that Allegra Clark, that's going to be fun to say, that she voices, probably, thinking about it in hindsight, I think she plays all 3 of the characters with the biggest boobs. I could be wrong, but I think all 3 of them are voiced by her. That being said, it's really interesting comparing Semiramis along with Rikido, because, as I'll go more into a little later with somebody else, all 3 of the characters sound distinctly their own. And I think to have 3 different roles and all of them be uniquely distinct, that's pretty impressive. Reika Rikido, I don't have much to say. I have a lot to say on Semiramis. I'll leave most of that salt to Megan, but first I want to talk about Erica Mendez as Jack the Ripper. This is a character you'll hear a lot of us very mixed on tonight. Hell, now that I think about it, you'll hear a lot of hot takes on both assassins tonight. But Erica Mendez as Jack the Ripper is Psycho Moe Loli Mendez is how I describe that. And I can think of the song by System of a Down where I think of it as Psycho Moe Loli Mendez. And it's just... holy fuck, she's scary. Like, how do you... It's a level of, like, making really cute Moe, like, adorable little child thing and turning it into the most horrific, menacing, scary, eerie force in the show. Like, I could say a lot about the character. I could say a lot about the arc. A lot of which I am very conflicted on. Erica Mendez, though, fucking spectacular. Props to her. She made this character so scary, and it's probably like the highest, cutest voice I think I've ever heard her. And that's really interesting. Semiramis. I'm going to say this right now. Semiramis is hot. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to deny that. In terms of aesthetic...
I can't wait to kink shame you again.
I know you're going to kink shame me, and I'm accepting that, but let me explain myself. I like the aesthetic she's got. I kind of like this weird... Boy, you want to talk kink shaming? This is the only way I can describe her design. Goth mommy is how I would describe Semiramis's... how she carries herself and how she looks. Which is funny because we have Jack and Reika Rikido in hindsight. But... I think I like the way she carries herself in her performance. She's very dignified and very much in control, but she is very defensive, like when anybody does like criticize or talk shit about Shiro. I'm actually really impressed with her voice, and honestly, if it wasn't for the spikes on her hand, her design would actually really hit like a lot of strike zones. That being said...
all she needs is the hard eyes and the pink hair.
God, if she had the black skull eyes. Fuck, shut up, fuck you. Fuck off. Fuck off. That being said, my own character attraction decide will not blind me to the fact that the things that they choose to do with her character and the way they sort of do her character arc and the way they sort of rob her, like, another character moment actually infuriates the fuck out of me. Why did she need the moment with Shiro in the final episode when we could have done that so much earlier? Or she could have contemplated about how she only really cared for Shiro, like how Shiro asked her in her dying moments, and she thought back on that instead of giving her a moment with Shiro. Why did she need to be alive to restrain Astolfo in the end when you could have just had her noble phantasm continue after death and go away once Shiro dies? That would have made sense to me. She didn't need to live because Mordred deserved that win!
Can I have this now?
Yes,
give me a second,
okay, yes.
Point is, I
Release
like Lakark. I'm going to talk more about you later. I'm impressed with both of your performances. Floor's here, Megan.
Release the Megan.
I'm trying to do like the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun music with my hands. And I'm really afraid that I almost knocked my mic off my desk. Oh boy, did I hate the fuck out of the 2 arcs for these characters. Oh god! Let's start with Jack the Ripper. Because at least we all universally agree that Jack the Ripper's arc was kind of bad.
It's easily the worst part of the show, yeah.
It is easily the worst part of the show. Like, props to you, Erica Mendez, for not only writing this, because this stuff was incredibly uncomfortable and written by morons over in the Japanese. This is not something that she could have salvaged if she tried. Like, I'm sorry. you cannot salvage something as ham-fisted, bloated, and awful as what they did for Jack the Ripper, down to her character design as well. Like, I don't know why you're making I know Roots didn't want to say, why are you making the amalgamation of dead hooker babies, into a sexy lolly that murders people?
Yeah.
That's no offense, that's a disgusting thing to hit for. Like, that would be like making Guy Derai a sexy Shota.
Oh, God.
Not wrong.
Fuck.
We'll get back to Guy Derai later. Are you okay?
No, keep going.
Andrew, just imagine a bunch of ham shoved in a condom.
Okay, I'm good. Continue.
Okay. But Erica Mendez actually was this was actually probably one of the best performances on the show, because if you're gonna go all in for this character type, go all in. She got the childish there, she got the fear, she got the manipulation down. Like, straight up, if this little girl came up to you on the street with the voice that she had, you would totally take her home and pat her head and feed her hearts. You would totally be Rika, her master, who, like Clark, yeah, this is probably the weakest of the performances she does in the show, only because the character does like jack all, basically.
Rika though, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, when she dies, it was really good. Like, that part was great. And the emotions there. And then there's Semi-fucking-Ramis. Oh my god. I hate this character so much. Like, she doesn't do anything in the beginning of the series other than be, like, Shiro's fucking trophy wife. Which, oh my god. Like, Allegra Clark does a really good job voice acting this character too, and she does sound completely distinct from Rikida, which is really good. This is, again, like I said, when I talked about the directing, Allegra Clark plays 3 different characters in this show, and all of them sound separate from each other, so I'm really impressed by her, especially if this is how I'm gonna get to know her in anime. I would like to see her just get to play one character and focus completely on that performance. She did a really good job playing Semiramis as a waifu. And I think that even during Semiramis' fight with Mordred, where she actually kind of gets to be cool Semiramis in, like, this big threat, more than just, how dare you talk bad about my Shiro!
Yeah.
Like, basically that, like, and that's what pisses me off. Her living totally fucking robbed Mordred. And I thought that final scene, while very well acted, where she and Shiro were talking to each other, and you finally kind of get to hear into her own mentality, was such fucking bullshit.
Also, by that point, who fucking cares?
I do!
I mean, who cares about her character is what I meant. Why wait till then? Why wait till then?
Until then. Yeah, like, why wait till then? And I will say I did care about her character arc, only because it proceeded to immediately be one of the biggest reasons, one of the factors that culminates into the biggest reason I do not like this show very much, and that I think this show is a freaking disappointment as somebody who has never watched a Fate show, and if I wasn't on this podcast and we weren't planning other things, I would never watch a Fate franchise again. It's that the line that she has written is, you know, after all of these years, Shiro is the first person who ever acknowledged me for my fighting prowess, not my beauty or anything. And why? So that she can say that she's in fucking love with Shiro. That's it.
Yeah.
That's her whole character. Her whole character is, I'm I'm loyal to Shiro, not because I'm a good fighter or I want to win the war. Not like everybody else who had their own desires that were completely independent from everybody else. Her thing is, I want to fuck Shiro. That's it. And it's such bullshit. Like, there are a lot of other really dirty things done to female characters in this show, like making Jack the Ripper a sexy lolly, making Semiramis basically there to be a hot waifu. I mean, for God's sakes, Andrew admitted that he'd fuck her, but by the time she jacked his penis off, it looked like one of those little hot dog treats from a kid's anime.
Okay!
The spite that runs through it.
Okay, you keep me out of this fucking analogy right the fuck now.
You knew it was coming!
Oh, God.
Like, if you like this show and you like this character, that's perfectly fine. She is a decently designed character, minus the spikes in her hand. She's pretty. But I just don't think that her arc was good, and I applaud Allegra Clark for being able to get her arc out very beautifully, as much as it pisses me off. Go, Roots. I'm done.
Okay. I'm really impressed with Allegra Clark basically doing two. It's really cool that we're talking about both of her parts in the same segment. It's an interesting thing, because she does sort of the doting mother figure for Reika, and then she turns around and she's this sultry, manipulative individual, Semiramis. Say what you want about her character arc, but I think the performance here was really solid. And now we have to get to Jack the Ripper, which I really liked Erica Mendez's performance, but oh my god, why? Like, why? This is easily one of the worst characters of the show, not just for the heinous things she does and sort of the heinous things the writers do to basically bring her into being, but she's a frustrating character. I do like that Erica Mendez is basically the loving little child who will definitely stab people in the heart for mommy, but like I'm really torn, because this is, as somebody who's actually kind of watched a little bit of Fate, like, if this is something I can expect to see in a bunch of spin-offs, I'm not gonna come back. Like,
I mean, at least this kind of portrays the concept of, like, children in a way that is meant to be semi-taken seriously and, like, dramatically, but I feel like her design and what the
undercuts it.
Yeah.
It's in conflict with what the show is saying between what the characters itself is saying, I think.
I also think that arc and what they were trying to go for was just not very well done.
It's also very much the slowdown point completely visually. It is.
Yeah,
not even visually. I mean, like, storytelling wise, like, it was trying to clearly say something, like, very, like, profound and deep, but the way that the story went about it was very bloated and underhanded. Like, I've seen this commentary before done much better.
I got a very Akame Kill vibe, honestly, now that I think about it.
Like, if you want this kind of story arc done right, watch the first arc of Mononoke. The Toei Mononoke that you can get it from, like, Cinedigm or Crunchyroll. Man. Like, that was this story arc done really well.
Okay.
Like, the idea of, you have blood on your hands for killing the innocent, but, like, you can't, like, the idea that you can't save everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually liked, like, what they were trying to do with, Ruler and Adelante, but I think the biggest, I like Ruler actually being active in that moment and making a conscious choice to try and, like, fix a fault in the system. And I like Adelante's conflict with that, which we'll get more into in a bit. I just think the show is really bad at conveying that.
Right, and in and of itself, the story arc just
it's easily
grinds
the weakest.
The entire series to a halt. It does just about nothing to move the story along.
Considering what we get after, I see it as a necessary evil, but boy, does this... I feel this is a show that... I'm sorry, I keep cutting in and I'll get on. This show is better because you can binge it. This is one of those shows where it's like the fact that it was picked up by Netflix was an actual benefit. Because watching this weekly, I see why people who watched it weekly didn't like it. Because watching this weekly, when you got to this series of episodes, must have been a pain in the ass.
Yeah. In any case, I'm done, and I will pass it on to Jet.
Okay. So, feelings on the character aside, I thought Erica Mendez did a pretty good job of making Jack sound creepy. And I appreciate that she went high-pitched enough to make it sound distinct from how she played Roche. And I thought there was just enough of a difference that if someone was going in blind, they might not be able to tell right away they're played by the same person. Which is always kind of a plus when it comes to the whole unfortunate task of multicasting. Yeah. So the same can be said here for Allegra Clark, because there is a very noticeable difference in how she plays Semiramis versus how she plays Reika. As despite both of them sounding pretty feminine, there's a sort of sweet and motherly tone with Reika, which I thought kind of worked in contrast with the mess up things she does. Versus how Semiramis sounds very regal and very full of herself, like she's kind of above everything. And I'd also go so far as to say that if I hadn't seen the credits beforehand, I would have honestly thought they were played by two different people. And that's a really impressive feat. As far as the characters themselves go, Semiramis was kind of the one I liked the best, and while the execution of it was pretty messy, like you guys were saying, I thought the whole dynamic with Shiro was kind of interesting, where she was like clearly attracted to him, but tried to sort of play the whole thing off as just like fulfilling her role as a servant. I mean, and I do kind of agree that that whole final scene would have worked better if it was done earlier, but yeah. And yeah, that's basically it for me.
Alright.
So, on that note, we're gonna move on to
Jet,
the next section.
Jet, you can have my bow.
Yes, because...
And my axe!
And thanks for ruining that, Megan.
Oh.
So, next up we have the Archers, as well as the Master for the Archer of Black, Fiore, Forvez, GARNiDELiA. So the Archers were actually my territory here, so it looks like you'll get to hear me talk about some of these after all.
Yay.
Woo!
Okay. So first up, let's look at the legend of the Red Archer Atlante. Atalante, yeah. So her father, King Yasus, had wanted a son. So when he ended up with a daughter instead, he abandoned her in the woods where she was nursed by a female bear, and eventually found and raised by hunters. Growing up, she swore she would defend her virginity, and when a pair of centaurs tried to assault her, she killed them with arrows. She later joined up with the Argonauts, and was the first to draw blood when they were asked to sway the Catalonian War. Afterwards, she was reunited with her father, who insisted she get married. She agreed under the condition that her suitor could beat her in a foot race, and that the losers be put to death. One of them, named Hippomenes, sought the help of Aphrodite to assist him, and he was successful in claiming Atalante's hand in marriage. However, when he failed to pay Aphrodite back, she turned both him and Atalante into lions.
Cool.
So...
That explains the cat ears.
That
Yes.
does.
And apparently the only reason that they were turned into lions were that apparently back in the day, they thought lions couldn't actually mate with each other. That's why.
Joke's on them.
Now they got to have hot cat sex.
Okay,
All these pussies and not a pussy in sight. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. I'm sorry.
I mean, so the version of her story in Fate lore is, like, pretty much the same. But in this version, well, she was traveling with the Argonauts. She had a close relationship with the hero Meleager. And when they went to take down the boar, he gave her the credit for the kill, even though he landed the finishing blow. Apparently, his relatives weren't very pleased at the thought of him giving all that glory to a woman, so they ended up cursing him to death. So between what happened to Meleager and the whole, like, getting forcibly married off thing, it pretty much goes without saying she doesn't trust men very much. And she has a very strong affinity towards children, as we kind of got in the show. And next up, we have the Archer of Black, Charon. So, according to legend, Charon was known as the oldest and wisest of the centaurs. But unlike the others, he was immortal because he was the son of the Titan Kronos and the half-brother of Zeus. His mother was apparently so ashamed of his half-horse appearance that she literally asked the other gods to turn her into something inanimate so she wouldn't have to look at him. So they turned her into a tree. He studied under the gods and eventually became a teacher himself, training on several heroes of Greek myths, including Jason and Pallas of the Argonauts, the demigod Aristotle, and of course Achilles of Troy. Unfortunately, he got caught up in a battle between Hercules and the other centaurs, and ended up being poisoned with hydra venom. The venom was incurable and left him in total agony, so he eventually decided to surrender his immortality so he could finally die, and Zeus decided to honor him by placing him in the stars as a Sagittarius constellation. So according to Fate lore, his story is basically the same there, but apparently due to his immortality, he was originally too powerful to be summoned by the Grail, but since he lost his immortality, he now qualifies as a heroic spirit. And, yeah, that's basically how we got here.
Before we continue, I just want to mention something that I learned from your lesson things. So, Adelante almost gets assaulted by centaurs, and the other archer on the opposing side is a centaur.
He's a fucking centaur.
What the fuck are the odds? Wow.
It's like the writers of this show
Okay.
idiots.
That one is just pure coincidence to me, and I find that amusing. I don't think that one was actually intentional.
Okay.
That one was not actually intentional.
Are you sure?
They have no. They. When have they talked? They don't talk in the show.
That's true.
So
they don't talk.
I
in the
think
show.
that was just a funny coincidence.
I would also like to point out that the first time that Fiore talks to Kairon in the show, she's like, "Why don't you have a centaur's body?" And he's like, "It would be very conspicuous." So I changed it.
I also find it personally amusing the angle that the girl with no legs gets the guy who technically has 4 legs.
Jesus Christ!
Yep, so let's get to who's playing these characters. For Archer of Red, we have Allegra Clark pulling triple duty. For Archer of Black, we have Jalen K. Cassell. And for Fiore, we have Kaylee Mills. Jalen has mostly had background roles up until recently, but you've also heard him as Lef Lenore in Fate Grand Order, Amangade in Hunter x Hunter, and Darius Leoxi in Magi Adventure of Sinbad. Kaylee Mills has a few video game credits, but is also a relatively newer face in anime, and the only other named credit of hers that we can actually talk about is Miyu Aikawa from Occult of Nine.
Expect us to talk more about Kaylee soon. I'm excited for that one.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, right, yeah, it's my turn. Okay. Give me a second to try and find this stuff. Which is his Archer. Okay. First off, I will talk about Kairon, or Archer of Black. Jalen, how do you say his name? Jalen?
Jalen, I think.
Jalen.
Yeah. Oh, Jalen.
Jalen is a voice we do not talk about very much. The only one I've known him for, actually, is the 3rd dungeon boss gangster fat guy from Persona 5. That was him.
Wait, the guy with the bank?
Yeah, the guy with the bank. That's him.
Fuck that boss.
Yeah, fuck. That boss was actually... Yeah. But that's who he was in that. So that's the only experience I have with this actor. That being said, really interesting sounding voice. I like the way he sounds. It's very distinct, interesting cadence he gives off. It's just... I like the tone of voice. It's really neat. Very authoritative. Very smooth. Very much a loyal steed. And yes, that is... God, I just realized I said loyal steed. Fuck, that one wasn't even intentional. Yes, but I think he's really, really interesting. He's not one I expected a lot out of, but he probably gets one of the best fights in the show, in the form of a literally trapped inside of the frozen time one-on-one fist fight in a series of jet planes is a thing I didn't know I'd get in a Fate series, and I'm so glad I did. But I really like Jalen. Is that how you say it?
Jalen.
Jalen. I'm sorry, but I liked you as I liked you in that role. Fiore. I'll talk about Fiore first. I have probably the most notes, I think, for her. She's just all the way down here. Wasn't sure I was going to feel about her, as this was her first time I'd heard her. I was pretty impressed. She's got a real, like, distinct range. She's got some softness in her, but she can be a bit of a badass, but she can also show her fear and emotions, and well as her confidence, as well as just her ladylike authority. I was very impressed. She also kind of sounds a little bit to me like Christina V, now that I think about it, and I find that really interesting. I thought that was worth noting. The one that's most interesting to note, and continuing our conversation from the last section, Allegra Clark as Adelante. I think of the 3 roles she has, this one is the best. Like, she sounds completely different from the 2 sultry, busty, like, crazies from the last part, and she's much more, like, warrior-like and stern-faced, and then as soon as the shit goes on with the Jack the Ripper, when you hear her go off, it's like, I feel the power and the anger in her voice, and when you actually get to her fight with Ruler, it's actually probably, like, some of the best, craziest screaming in this show, and that says a lot. Her character's odd. I think she does get some really good fights, but she's got so much power and ferocity in her voice that I think of her 3 roles, I think I liked Adelante for Allegra the best of the 3. And I'm done.
Okay, we're releasing the Megan again.
Don't worry, I don't actually hate either of these characters. No, until we get to,
Yeah, we'll get you'll know when she's pissed. You'll know.
Yeah. It's gonna be when we talk about the main 3 characters. No, I'll agree, especially with Adelante. I do have a problem with this character being that her whole motivation, like, it kind of felt like it was coming out of nowhere, her wish. Like, I feel like they didn't properly set it up, so, like, her suddenly being baby crazy and being, a crazy bitchy hypocrite to Ruler was kind of weird. But goddamn was her going batshit the best. Like, episode 23 of this show can just
22.
be titled, 22, should just be titled Fate Sakuga. Because essentially, once the arch switch happened, it was like doing LSD and watching things get punched.
It was so cool.
Chef kiss.
It was just like watching her, and what I love more is that the way it starts is like she just shows up on the top of the plane and Laura's like, "Oh shit, is that a tainted boarhide? Fuck yeah, it is, bitch!" And she like plunges it into herself and goes insane. And I loved crazy ass Adelante, but I also really liked when she and Rider of Red would kind of have these moments with each other. Like, it's like, God, I hate you so much. But, like, when she dies, it's so, like, the beauty in that performance, along with Rider of Red, was like, chef's kiss to you, Allegra Clark. I do wish that if, out of all of the 3 characters she played, that she only could have just played Adelante. If I had to pick one that I wanted her to focus on, it would be Adelante's character, because I think she nailed it the most, and it showed the most promise. I do really want to see Allegra Clark cast in more California productions. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that she shows up in more Netflix stuff. And even Viz stuff, too. And then the occasional Funimation stuff that they do over at Funimation, but...
I could say she is in Hunter x Hunter.
And she will
yeah, you know, that... What?
And she will be in an upcoming Netflix thing, so...
Yeah, guys, stop reminding me I need to watch Hunter x Hunter. I'm gonna literally dunk all of you into a river. That being said, moving on to, Shinron and Fiore... Jalen plays Chiron as the suave man that you would want to bring home to daddy.
You're so right, though.
Like, legit, he's got teacher voice.
Also, because he's literally a teacher. Also,
He's literally a teacher. He's, like, supportive. Like, the only thing I don't like is that Chiron kind of loses faith in Fiore. Because Fiore is too compassionate and holds on to things. Go fuck yourself, show. To which I thought he bounced really off of Kaylee.
Yeah, Kaylee.
Kaylee, fantastically. They were probably one of the most solid master and servant duos.
And he is the other one of the two servants of Black that's actually kind of loyal from beginning to end.
Like, he and Fiore did a really good job together, and I really like Kaylee. I hope that she gets more leads in shows. I thought she did a great job as Fiore, playing all of her emotions and being the girl that's kind of suddenly thrust into being a leader, but she decides for a bullshit reason to step back. She gets across a lot of the clever and kind of the quiet in that. But seriously, let's talk about Chiron and his dying moment of badassery with
so cool.
Rider of Red.
So cool.
Like, one of my favorite lines in the show is, "You've been going for my heel the whole time." Yes, and why would I not take the advantage? Like, just that final fight between the two of them, and then when he literally does, he gets his own little, like, spike bang.
Tactical nuke inbound.
Hacks, I call hacks. Rider of Red calls hacks. But I fucking loved it. I really want this guy to be a lead in more shows. Like, put Jalen on the big dudes. Like, let him be suave motherfuckers like Chiron. I kind of wish Chiron had a horse's ass, though.
In hindsight, a lot of this dub is kind of like a preview platter of things to come from California, and I'm very okay with that.
Yeah,
like, there's a reason I gave this my runner-up behind Akka, with the only reason being that because there were triple and double casting in it. And that was something I had to dock technical points for a show with a cast smaller than Akka. Also, I'm sorry, I like Bevan's dubs more than Tony Oliver, but that's another discussion. I think that I would totally believe them as leads in another show. I would love to see them do it. Also, can we talk about how Fiore has fucking Doc Ock weapons?
Yeah!
Like, yo, let's give it up for the mage in the wheelchair. That was badass as fuck. I wish they would have let her keep her magic. Like, let the cool disabled girl be the cool disabled girl.
Yeah.
No arguments there.
Like, come on, show. Come on, I gotta call that out. Like, they literally said, "Oh yeah, my wish is to be able to walk again." Why? Like, okay, I understand why, but I like the fact that they also introduced, "Oh yeah, I could totally walk again if I just gave up my magic and gave up being a mage." That's bullshit.
Yeah, that was kind of bullshit. Not gonna fight that. That was bullshit.
But no, I think she got. Like I said, I like Kaylee. I liked all of the people in this. So yeah. Oh my god, I just realized the next section is going to be my favorite section.
Alright.
Anyway, go Roots.
Probably mine as well, but yeah. So, let's start with the master here. Kaylee Mills as Fiore. I really like the performance. Like, this... Honestly, I think it may be one of the stronger performances of the dub.
Really? Alright.
Like,
I'd agree with it.
The character has to carry a lot of the weight of the Yggdrasil Millennia clan.
Yggdrasil Millennia.
Thank you.
You get it fucked up.
Like,
God damn it.
I'm gonna mess that up a lot.
We were going to. I'm not faulting you. I'm just helping you out.
Yeah. Well, after one of the characters we're gonna get to in the next section dies, she basically has the entire weight of the clan on her shoulders. And she plays that off really well. And she also has really good dynamics with what's his name? Tom Bauer.
Callus.
Callus, yeah. And also her own servant. Like Jalen, he does a really, really great job as Archer of Black. I do have to call bullshit on the character arc where he's basically telling her that, you know, maybe it's time to quit magic, but
yeah,
that is what it is. But in any case, he does play the caring, not doting, but he gives tough love when he has to teacher.
I also appreciate how he does that for Callus too, and I actually kind of like the line where it's like, I see you were a good fit for Berserker of Black. I actually thought, oh, okay, that's really sweet.
I like how he thought of Fiore and Keiron as both of his students.
Right.
Yeah.
And oh my god, that fight in episode 22.
21, actually.
21, I'm sorry.
It's so good!
I know!
It was literally like a fucking melee battle.
They're airplane hopping and fisticuffs and...
It was so cool! Oh, God.
And I also have to agree with Megan on Archer of Red, where, you know, if Allegra Clark only got one role in the show, it would be her. Because she gets sort of the rivalry with Lancer, I'm sorry, not Lancer of Red, Rider of Red. No, Rider of Red.
That's less of a rivalry and more of they will, they won't, they fuck kind of thing.
That's really not what I saw in it, but...
Okay, no, I'm joking a little, I see what you're getting at.
Like, they're slightly antagonistic toward one another, and... Like, that was a really good dynamic. The dynamic with Ruler, though, was great. Where she got angry, and then when she infused the boarhide into herself and went berserk, like, that was great. Like, Allegra Clark has a lot of range. The show lets her go buck wild, and I just love it. And with that, I will pass it on to Jet.
Okay. So, once again, Allegra Clark does a really great job of making Atalante sound distinct from her other roles. And while this was what I initially just kind of found okay, it really won me over during the second half where Atalante had it out for John. And you could really feel every ounce of rage and despair in that performance. And, like, the fact that he pulled it off while doing two other characters in the same show and playing all three to the point where they really don't even sound like the same person, which, like, and they even didn't sound like the same person when they were speaking to each other. Like, you know, it's like I was paying very close attention to that, and I honestly felt like if you were just watching the show blind, you would never be able to tell they were the same person.
I agree.
Yeah. So I was also pretty impressed with Kaylee Mills here. At first, I was like a little lukewarm on it. I thought it sounded like maybe a little too typical anime girl, but she really won me over during that whole, like, childhood flashback with the dog, since she got to be really vulnerable for that one moment, and she just really went for it. And then for Jalen, I heard him before in Hunter x Hunter, and I'll be honest in admitting I kind of confused him with Kaiji Tang for a while. But he certainly got to stand out a lot more here, and I really like the gentle but stern quality to his voice, since it really fit with the whole, like, Keiron being a teacher thing. And when he needed to get really aggressive, he really managed to play that out without sounding overly gruff, and I walked away feeling pretty happy with that. These three certainly had a lot to prove, like maybe the most out of the entire cast, but all of them are great, and I'm really looking forward to whatever they do next. And on that note, it is time to move on to the Lancers.
Holy shit, we just got halfway. I'm sorry, editor.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a long one.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
it's probably going to go a little quicker from here, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the Lancers, as well as the Master for the Lancer of Black, and the guy who started this whole crazy mess, GARNiDELiA Presto GARNiDELiA. And covering the Lancers tonight, of course, goes to Lancer Andrew.
Hey, y'all, what's good, everybody? Okay, so the Lancers we got here tonight are kinda interesting. First of all, Lancer of Black is Vlad the Third He's known by a couple different names. He's known as like Vlad the Third, Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler, or his actual like family name, Vlad Dracula. Like all these, and remember, Impaler was given to him as a nickname for his favorite form of execution. Like, he was a prince of Wallachia at 3 different points in his life. It's like, I think he had it, and then he took it back at some point, and then in the last year of his life, he got it back again, but then sort of died that year. He was a ruler and monarch who became renowned for his strength in battle and his particular fierceness and cruelty. Said cruelty and brutality in the heat of battle would actually lead inspiration from a certain Bram Stoker, who used his patronymic naming of the character after Vlad Dracula for Count Dracula. This is mixed in fate in an interesting way, in that the character that Vlad the Impaler was never Dracula, but the legend in and of itself kinda overlaps actually into being his noble phantasm. He's shown as being a very proud character. He's very kingly. He is the ruler. He is the guy in charge. He is the one who watches the castle, and he controls his territory, and he's proud and strategic, but he is deeply, mortifyingly ashamed of the fact that his noble phantasm has been overridden by the power that is Dracula. And that brings him great, great shame. Now let's talk about Karna. There's a lot I could probably talk about. There's a lot.
Yay,
so,
Karna.
The thing I discovered in researching this is that Hindu shit is OP as fuck. Like, there is straight up power scaling in this stuff. There's a lot I can mention about his childhood, but I'll say this. He is the central character to the Hindu epic Mahabharata. He is the son of a sun god named Surya and the human king Kunti. He is one of the warriors said to have conquered the entire world. Karna is single-handedly and successfully conducted a campaign to which he conquers all kings in every direction of the world. He is said in power to equal 2 Mahabharata warriors, which one of them by themselves is said to have mastery of all forms of weapon and combat skills that are excellent strategists and experts in battle formations. He's got a lot going for him about his child, about being abandoned, like, by his father, about becoming a nobleman, rising his ways up, finding himself in battle, to eventually leading to where I got, becoming the person who conquers the entire world. Karna is OP.
He's also hot.
Yeah, yes, he is literally flaming. He is...
I'm sorry. Karna's the hottest character in this show, and I don't mean the fire.
You know what? Fair. He is... Yeah, he was an interesting... There's a lot on him to look up, because holy crap, his lore goes crazy. I kind of truncated it a lot to, this is who he is. He basically conquered the entire world. But seriously, like, Hindu stuff, there is power scaling. Like, he rivals 2 of the 3rd best warrior class in this stuff. It's kind of interesting.
I mean, it's sort of interesting you brought up the whole, like, rejected by his dad thing, because reject seems to be kind of a recurring theme in a lot of these sermons tonight. Okay, but anyway, getting to the actors here. Playing Lancer of Red, we have Chris Diossi. For Lancer of Black, we have Ray Chase. And for Darnik, we have good old Ben Diskin. So Chris Diossi is a name we've mentioned before, and one who we're probably going to be talking about a lot this year. But as for other stuff you've heard of him, he is Lord Oroko in Along the Sea, Pegasus in the Viz redub of Sailor Moon S, and Supers, my bad. Okay, and Reagan in Mob Psycho 100. Ray Chase has been around for a while and has started to become pretty popular recently. Some of his other work includes Father Moscus in Berserk, Yukiatsu in Anohana, and Hauser in The Seven Deadly Sins. And then Ben Diskin is another familiar anime name, and you have heard him as Sai in Naruto Shippuden, Satoru in Erased, and good old Joseph Joestar in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Season 1.
Alright, so I'm going first. I'll say this, interestingly enough. I have the least to say about Karna and Chris Neosi, even though I think Karna is probably the best servant of the Red faction. Okay, second best. Second best. I had to correct myself there. I think he's the second best of the Red faction. His character's really interesting. I don't have much to say on Chris Neosi, aside from the fact that he's really good as Karna, simply put. He's got that tone of arrogance, might, power, and assuredness in his own ability and skill. And when he goes all out in episode 22, it's... Oh, Chris, you did good. And like I said, Karna of these characters is probably actually my favorite. If we're talking purely of, like, characters. Like, he is a shonen rival in the end. The twist is that I want to save the people who helped summon me in this world, and I want to get the fight that I deserve. Honestly, of all the Lancers of the Fate series I've seen, he might be the only one that actually didn't get fucked over. Speaking of getting fucked over, Ray Chase as Vlad III is... Okay, I have to talk about Vlad and Ray and Ben at the same time, because at some point they literally become the same character, and oh mama, watching these two go back to back is some of the most delicious fighting who's going to chew the scenery more I've seen in this dub, and it is some of the best stuff in the first part. My god, Ben Diskin, Ray Chase, God bless both of you. You were fantastic. Also, Ray Chase, continuing to show more of the fact that he is like 20-something, 30-something, and he is probably one of the more convincing, older-sounding characters in the show, by the way, which is pretty impressive and really says a lot about his range and ability. Ben Diskin's amazing. He is authoritative Nazi man in this, but he is so good. They are both literally fighting to chew the scenery in that final episode. It's such a treat to watch them, but they kind of get destroyed and wrecked surprisingly quick at the end of the first part. Their characters are okay, but their performances are some of the most deliciously, like, hammy, like, chewing the scenery of the show. And Karna, I adore Chris Neosi as Karna, and I think Karna is probably one of the actually redeemable characters of the Red faction in regards to Servant, save for... He's the silver medal of Red. I have a bronze and a gold to give first. And I'm done.
Yeah, Karna was good. Chris Neosi was probably one of my favorite performances in the show. I really enjoyed his, I guess, kind of stoic yet very... I don't know, I don't really know how to describe that I liked it, I just did. Karna's probably my favorite designed character in the show. And then Ben and... Is it Ben and...
Ray Chase.
Yeah, Ben and Ray Chase. Yeah, Ray Chase does a lot of things I like. Ray Chase has a really good range. Welcome back to Ray Chase's voice acting Black Magic class, everybody.
Voice acting Servant of Black.
Yeah, just pew pew dead things, yay. Just don't call him a vampire, because then he'll turn into one. And then get burned by a priest. And then, Ben Diskins also chews the scenery really well. Together they will make a, scenery lawnmower.
It's a scenery lawnmower, I like that.
Just... I want an entire buddy comedy of them sharing a body.
Oh, God. I need that.
And I'll pass it on to Roots.
Alright, so... This is probably my favorite class altogether in terms of acting. But, I actually have very little to say on it. I really like Chris Neosi's Karna. kind of displayed a range of Chris Niozzi I'm not used to seeing. And actually, if I hadn't have watched that Netflix Godzilla movie, I probably wouldn't have seen it until, you know, I marathon Fate Apocrypha, like, the weekend before we had to record this. And, Ben Diskin as Darnik. Oh my god, his range. Like, for context, it was announced maybe, like, a week ago that Ben Diskin was voicing Baby Gonzo in Muppet Babies.
I forgot about that!
Like, he is playing Baby Gonzo in Muppet Babies, and then he turns around to play guy who stabbed the Nazis in the back for the Holy Grail. Holy shit. And then, like, what more can I say about Ray Chase, particularly as Vlad III, other than someone call a priest, I detect black magic here. There's magic afoot.
It's real good.
And I'll pass it on to Jet.
Okay. So ever since he blew me away with his Reagan and Mob Psycho, I've always been pretty excited to hear Chris Niozzi do things, and sure enough, he sounded great here. The whole Proud Warrior thing can be kind of tricky to handle, since going overboard with that can kind of make an actor sound like they're only doing a voice, but he really gets across Karn a sense of pride and confidence without making him sound
Arrogant?
Yeah, like too over the top. And there's like just enough humanity there that it feels like really believable, and it was a very rock solid performance. Having said that, though, I really got to give it up to Ben Diskin and Ray Chase here. Ben Diskin doesn't get too many opportunities to play anime villains aside from that mad scientist guy in Bleach and, well, Def Gun. And it's kind of a shame because he does a really good job of playing the arrogant mage while also making him feel like something of a family man. Like, I kind of like his whole like little interaction with the family, and you can kind of tell like how much they meant to him. But anyway, Ray Chase was also really great as Vlad, since much like Chris Niozzi, he does a great job of making the character sound proud and arrogant without going too overboard. But having said that, the best scene with these guys was definitely when Darnik tried to take over Vlad's body, because Ben Diskin and Ray Chase end up in a total have-off over who gets to take control, and that whole bit was like the most fun experience in the entire dub.
I can't argue that, yeah.
Yep. And having said that, our next section, we are going over the Riders of Black and Red, as well as the Master for Rider of Black, Selenic, Ice Cold EGOIST, who is very horny on main.
She is. The Astolfo thirst is not only real, it's canon.
Okay, and covering our writers is, of course, Writer Megan, because she would have killed us if she didn't get to talk about her boy Astolfo.
Yes, because I wanted to talk about Astolfo because he was the only reason I got any interest in the show. So we'll talk about Rider of Red first, just because it's the easier myth to go on. Achilles is the Greek hero and the central character of the Iliad, which is the story by Homer of the Trojan War. We've all went over the Iliad and the Odyssey in high school. I don't think I need to explain what the Iliad is. Basically, his mother was an immortal named Nereid, and his father was an immortal named Nereid, and his father was an immortal named Pallas, king of the Myrmidons. When Achilles was born, his mom tried to make him immortal by either dipping, it depends on which version you read, she either dipped him in the river Styx, however he was left vulnerable on the part of the body that she had to hold him by, because obviously you just can't dump a baby into a river. That's just not ethical. In another version of the story, Theus anointed the boy in ambrosia and put him on top of a fire because, you know, how do you cook a baby? To try and burn the mortal's part, she was interrupted by Pallas and abandoned, and she basically abandoned the two of them. He was actually taught by Chiron. The death of Achilles was predicted by Hector with his dying breath, because he was hit in the ankle by Paris with an arrow, or the heel, according to Stasius, because obviously plot holes are there and not everybody has plot armor. His name isn't Kirito. Astolfo is one of the 12 paladins of Charlemagne, Charlemagne being a big character in France. Fun fact, I've actually been to France, and when I was in front of Notre Dame, there's a big statue of Charlemagne and two girls going, "Oh, Charlemagne, didn't we help him in the First World War?" My hope for the future died in that exact spot and was buried somewhere in Paris. Fun fact, I've also been to Shakespeare's house.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
I've actually been to Stratford upon Avon, and I will give whoever the editor is a picture of me in front of the house from like 4 years ago. No, 6 years ago, my apologies. Back when I was a little skinnier. He is the son of Otto, the King of England, and possibly referring to Charles, contemporary Orpha of America. He is essentially basically a paladin that just kind of goes around, and he has various magical equipment. He has a magic book, which is very true to his noble phantasm. He also has a horse, and also a giant horn. Also, he doesn't cross-dress, or is not as effeminate as he is in this series. In this series, Astolfo is essentially Astolfo doesn't care about Astolfo's gender. Astolfo is Astolfo, and he's a hero. And you will leave your disgusting comments starting with the letter T away from here.
Yeah, none of that. None of that tonight. None of that ever.
Wait. Yeah, that's Astolfo and Achilles, and then Astolfo's master is essentially probably one of the worst characters in the show, and Mordred did us all a favor by cutting her head off.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, for Rider of Red, we have Joe Tieja. I probably botched that last name. Yeah. Okay, for Rider of Black, we have Faye Mata, and for Solenke, we have Lauren Landa. So Joe's previous roles are mostly for, like, video games and background characters, so this is basically his first big anime role. Faye Mata has been around for a couple of years, and while she doesn't have too many named roles, some of her other work includes Neon Nostron and Hunter x Hunter. Ryoka Narazawa in Atomic 9, yes, she's the one with the giant tatas.
Oh, that's who that is.
Okay, and Megan's favorite, probably, Rin Hoshizuru from Love Live.
Best girl is best girl.
Okay, and Lauren Landa has been around for a good while at this point, and some of her other work includes Annie in Attack on Titan, Michiru.
Annie did a lot of things wrong.
Okay, Michiru, aka Sailor Neptune, in the Viz redub of Sailor Moon, and Nora in Noragami.
I forgot she was in Noragami. Alright. So yeah, I'll make Lauren's character quick. Psycho, sexy, dominatrix, crazy master lady. Proves once and for all that the thirst for Astolfo is truly and utterly canon. She's crazy and all that, but there's not enough to say about her since she really wasn't ahead of the game. Anyways, time for the actual meat of this conversation is the writers. Because honestly, the writers are probably some of the best servants in the Fate series as far as I can recollect. Because they really are actually the best. And that kind of stands true for this series. Even Rider of Red. Rider of Red, I saw him and I'm like, who is this literal nobody man character? And he's probably my bronze medal of the entirety of the Red faction. Joe, I'm just going to say Joe because I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that because I will, in fact, actually botch that name. Rider of Red. I will say, a brand spanking new name that I had little to expect what was going into this, but I was pretty impressed. There is some ripe potential for this guy. I kind of like the interesting angle that is Dude Bro Achilles, but he's got a lot going for him in this. His voice is pretty distinct and interesting, and if this is my first introduction to this actor in future projects, consider me intrigued. Now, let's talk about why everybody's actually here tonight. Let's talk about Astolfo and Faye Mata. There's so much to say, but the only thing I actually had to say about Astolfo was a very good boy. What more do you need to say? Feimata, though, I am not as familiar or aware of this actress as I am. I don't know her for much, but her voice is really distinct as Astolfo, and she does a perfect job selling everything about Astolfo. Astolfo being this kind of eccentric showman of a character, but is also really kind, caring, extremely heroic, very caring for those around him, very sensitive, but also willing to kick some asses, show their stuff, get angry, and really get emotionally invested. Every time this character was on screen was an absolute treat, and the reason why Astolfo is popular, I can see why now, because Astolfo is probably one of the most standout and, like, genuinely best characters in Fate Apocrypha, period. Feimata, I'd love to hear you in more things now. I really liked your voice you gave Astolfo. I was very impressed. And I'm done.
Yeah, as the one person who's actually got to watch Feimata in something before because she owns Love Live. So Lord Landa's gonna be easy to talk about. She did horny Unmei well.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the only thing that is to that character. That character is there to be a crazy psychopathic, fetish dominatrix for your Fate fetish dominatrix feel. Except for she gets taken out by Mordred, which was the best thing that happened in the entire fucking show. Don't at me. Moving on to Joe as Achilles. I think he worked really well, especially pairing off either with Allegra Clark's
Adelante.
Thank you. Adelante, or when he talks to Chiron. He gets the really slick, kind of shitty snot kid kind of down. As well as, like, kind of the doofy fuckboy that keeps hitting on Adelante. But when they both die, and they both get their speech, I think that he masterfully played this kind of, like, sad wistfulness that he couldn't save her, and that he knew the whole time that her wish, it's like, come on, you know and I know that your wish is unobtainable, why would you wish for that? But I think you're not wrong in your wish, you just knew it wasn't possible. And then when he fights Chiron earlier, and he gets tactical nuked in his heel, it was great, and it's also, you've been going for my heel the whole time, stop complaining. But the true reason we're here is Astolfo, which is correct. Astolfo is the best character in the show, and face it, we're all pretty much surprised he fucking survived.
My god, I did not actually expect that.
Yeah.
Also, just because it's Valentine's Day and I haven't reminded you in an hour, roses are red, violets are blue, ruler just found out, Astolfo's a dude.
Yeah.
I actually was, originally, I was completely okay with the performance. I think Feimata does a really good job. I was surprised Rin Hoshi Zora has more tomboy in her voice than Astolfo does. And I was wondering that, and I was like, wow, they really play Astolfo super feminine in the dub. Like, I get he's effeminate, but I was surprised that they went as effeminate as they did. And then I watched the Japanese where they do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, it's like everyone knows, like, with Roche, yeah, it's Erica Mendez playing a little boy, but at least she tries to do, like, a little boy voice. They did not even fucking try, like, not even fucking go for that route with Astolfo. And I appreciate that. Because Astolfo's gender doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of their heart and their actions. And I think that's what Feimata got across the best out of anybody, is that truly Astolfo is a noble spirit like Karna, but they are very much more fun and cheerful about it. They take it not as a job to, like, they don't take it as a serious duty. They take it as, I'm here to do something good, let me make the most fun out of it. And I think that came across the best out of anybody in their performance. Also, Hippogriff is fucking sweet.
Yes.
Yes.
Fucking Griffin was good.
Fucking Hippogriff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what about you, Roots?
Yeah, not a lot to say about Selenique. She's absolutely horny on main, and then she gets dead.
Lauren Landa's good at being horny.
Yeah, she gave a really good performance when...
I forget how good she's at it being creepy, because I haven't watched Noragami in, like, the longest time.
Mm-hmm. She was great in that.
But character's not around long, so can't really say much. Achilles... I really like the dynamic he had with both of the archers. And, you know, he did a really good job. There really wasn't a lot to his character to begin with, but I like that they sort of played up the dude bro approach. He hits on Adelon.
But he never goes, like, full... He doesn't do, like, what they did with Free, where they go, like, full explicit dude bro.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, you know, it's Greek mythology, so it kind of works in a weird way.
Mm.
But, the fight in episode 21 and the banter between him and Chiron is just another chef kiss moment for this show. And God, Astolfo, it's probably among my favorite performances of the show, because the character has to show a lot of range, and I have a lot of respect for Faye Mata for the performance she gives.
Nis America, put the Love Live dub up on streaming on Crunchyroll, you fucks!
Give us a stream, you cowards.
Okay.
But in any case, I'm done, and I'll pass it on to Jet.
Okay. So like everyone was saying here, Lord Lando was just kind of there to sound crazy and horny, and she pulled it off, so I don't really have much to say other than she was good at making me want to see this character get wrecked, and I was happy when she got wrecked. So Joe made a very solid showing for my first time ever really hearing him in anything. And while I know it's not, like, particularly flattering to be compared to other VAs, like, he kind of reminded me a lot of Matt Mercer in, like, the best of ways, and he was great at making Achilles sound brash and cocky while also being able to dial it back for the more serious scenes. And then we have Faye Mata as Astolfo, which was just... she was really great at making Astolfo sound energetic and adorable pretty much every second he was on screen, and while she didn't make him sound like super androgynous or anything, I felt that that worked more towards her favor, since the contrast between how feminine he sounds and how nonchalant is about certain situations made for some really funny lines. Like all those bits where he's being tortured by his master and he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's like, that was really great. And
he couldn't be bothered to get it up. Why would he? It's like, look, you just want me because you think I'm hot. I need more than hot. I need, like, fucking dates and cuddles and shit, lady. And let's face it, you would cuddle the shit out of Astolfo. We all would cuddle the shit out of Astolfo.
I want an Astolfo plushie.
Yeah.
Oh, it exists.
I want.
But
no, not like the little Tsum Tsum. I want like
the monkey's paw.
No, I don't want like a. Andrew, no, I don't want a creepy Astolfo body pillow.
No,
I want like a big Nesso.
No, I'm not talking about the creepy body pillow. I'm talking about the little, like, what is it, the lump thing, where it's just like the little round cylinder and it's got the stupid derpy face.
Oh, it's a Tsum Tsum.
Tsum Tsum. That's what I was thinking.
Mochi Mochi, I have like a collection of them.
You can totally
like,
buy the Astolfo Tsum Tsum.
I'm sorry, did you not see the video of me at A-Fest where they had to pull me away from a booth because I kept buying Token Rambu ones?
Fair point.
This is a thing that happened. I was there. I had to pull her away.
Anyways, give us Astolfo plushies.
Okay, so basically Astolfo was the best character to show for me next to Mordred, and while he should have won that whole shipping war with Sieg, he got to survive the Holy Grail War, so hey, there's that.
By the way, I know, like, Astolfo actually stays with the Black Faction. From the beginning, Astolfo wasn't even loyal at all. Like, he kind of brings the entirety. He literally tries hauling Sieg's ass out of there and ends up kinda sorta causing more conflict in the internal rankings. He would not have stuck around if he didn't partner up with Sieg. Which, I actually really like the angle of Sieg and Astolfo being Master Servant. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, that was like one of the best moments of the show for me. So anyway, our last group for tonight is
second to last.
Okay, yeah, so our last group.
Our last class.
Yeah, well, not last class, but last group. Sorry, so we have our Sabers as well as their masters, Kairi Shishigo, aka Mr. Shades, and Gornis Music GARNiDELiA, the resident jerk face. And Andrew was in charge of the Sabers, so if you would.
Okay, so let's start with Siegfried. There's a couple of different, other mythologies, particularly in Norse and Scandinavia, but the one we're working with is more parallel to the German folklore as he's represented in Nibel Ungenlied. He's a prince from the Netherlands who acquired a powerful sword named Balrog and a cloak of invisibility. His most renowned heroic act was slaying the dragon Fafnir and bathing in its blood, being nigh invincibles.
Man, can I please make a bad joke?
You rudely interrupted me, but sure.
Man, that second OVA of Dragon Maid got really dark.
You know, I'll let you have that one. That's cute. Okay. Alright, so his most renowned heroic act was saying the dragon Fafnir and bathing its blood, save for being nigh invincible, save for a spot on its back, on the back of his neck, due to a leaf falling on his neck while he's bathing in the blood. So the back of his neck is the single vulnerable part of his body. In trying to win the heart of Kriemhild, the sister of King Gunther, he helps Gunther woo the Queen of Iceland, Brunhild. She's a woman of strength, and to prove the king's strength to court her, Siegfried basically dons the cloak of invisibility to make it look as if Gunther is the one doing it. Simply put, Siegfried, top-tier wingman. Siegfried is wed, but eternal treachery from Gunther's courtier, Hage von Troje, he devises a scheme and plans with Gunther and uses Kriemhild, his wife, to place a cross on the back of his vulnerable spot, and Hagen spears him when he is taking a drink from a stream to look like a hunting accident. Pretty much all of that is intact in regards to the Fate mythos, so not going into that. Now let's talk Mordred. Mordred's really interesting comparing the two. Simply put, Mordred is a character in Arthurian legend known as a notorious traitor whom Arthur fights and killed during the Battle of Camlin, which is also Arthur's final battle due to injuries that Arthur sustains from Mordred. Mordred was a member of the Knights of the Round Table and nicknamed the Usurper King, and of course is branded by a traitor when, he's trying to kill Arthur. This is going off of the version of the story where Mordred was conceived through inadvertent incest with Arthur's estranged sister. While sometimes this belongs to Morgause, Fate goes with the variation of Morgan Le Fay being the mother, and in regards to Fate, shit gets weird. Okay, so here's the thing. Arthur is a girl in Fate. Actually, name is Arturia Pendragon instead of Arthur Pendragon, and Arturia is posing as a male, and at some point Merlin essentially uses magic to turn Arturia into a pseudo-male and basically gives Arturia a magic dick to try and help produce a future heir. But through means of treachery and scheming, Morgan Le Fay essentially takes some of the magic dick, magic sperm, and then fuses that into the body of a homunculus and incubates said sperm into one of her ovaries and accelerates the growth, and boom, Mordred.
What?
Wow.
I didn't tell any of you that, because this is Fate, and man oh man, is it a trip.
Fate, man. Fate is so weird.
Oh, boy.
I quit. I quit doing this podcast. I quit anime. I quit fucking manga. I'm gonna go find an alligator and adopt it and make it my child. It was nice being friends with all of you. That's just... I have sat through some shit for this podcast. I've sat through a man being fucked by his own subconscious that was inside of a robot dog. I've watched a girl with no name go through a time loop to find her one true love and basically almost died Final Destination style because her idiot boyfriend stabbed herself in the heart. I have sat through a girl being put into a house with 13 of her stepbrothers and deciding, maybe, just maybe, I want one of them to put their dick in me. I have watched Elizabeth Maxwell become a Southern Belle and Jade Saxton rap. I have watched a show where a guy gets a centipede put in his ear, but none of that can even comprehend the fucking garbage babble that came out of Andrew's mouth.
Dude.
Magic sperm homunculus growth? What the fuck?
I'm so glad I'm doing this. I'm so glad I'm doing this episode.
Why did you all make me... Oh fuck, my dad banged on the door. Why did you all make me watch a Fate franchise? That's it. You all are mean. I hate you.
I love you so much, Megan. I'm so glad you're doing this with us. I love all of you people. Jet, please tell us.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
Okay, so playing Saber Red, we have Erica Lindbeck. For Saber Black, we have Ben Bronsky. And for Kyrie, we have Patrick Seitz. For Gordis, we have Brad Venerable. So Erica Lindbeck is a name we've mentioned a few times here at Dub Talk, and some of her other work includes Pakunoda and Hunter x Hunter, Ellie in Love Live, and Anaru in Anohana. Ben Pronsky has actually been around for a long time and was originally based in Houston before moving to California a few years ago. Some of his other work includes Takashi in Kuromane High School, Kurotabo in Neurorazan Yokai Clan, and Mu Alexis in Magi the Kingdom of Magic. Patrick Seitz has been in basically everything, and you might have heard him as Endeavor in My Hero Academia, Captain Bravo in Muto Renkin, and of course our Lord Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And then Brad Venable is another Texas VA who made the move to California, and some of his other work includes Red Dragon and Chaos Dragon, Myro in Fairy Tail, and Daz in Attack on Titan.
Alright, okay. Get it brief. Okay, so.
My back hurts.
Okay. Alright, let's go through this first. First off, Black Faction, because these two are simultaneously the most and or least important characters, depending on how you look at it. Siegfried, Ben Pronsky is an interesting voice I'm not sure I've ever talked about, or I don't think we've ever talked about, but he's got a very interesting, distinct sounding, like, badass, manly voice, and that's really cool and really neat. Like, he kind of sort of gets less to do when Sieg starts becoming him, but I think I really liked the sound of his voice, and I actually really liked even, like, what he did early on. I liked his character quite a bit. Brad Venable is not a name I expected to see with Callie, but he's got that very shit-eating sounding face, and shit-eating sounding face. That's a shit-eating sounding voice, and he just sounds like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I could do things, but he's kind of a jack-off. But somehow he gets an actual character arc and sort of is kind of shown to be full-on tsundere when he's dealing with the other homunculi, and he actually gets to survive and kind of adapt. And he's got a fat son like him too, which is actually kind of amusing. I think Brad Venable's voice is really good. Now, the actual ones of note are, first, let's talk Kyrie. Because let's talk Kyrie and Patrick Seitz. Because Patrick Seitz he is a daddy DILF man who looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter, and he's so goddamn cool, and his character dynamic with Mordred is fantastic and genuinely one of the most touching, effective, and genuinely sweetest and bestest parts of the show, period. Straight up. You want me to describe the relationship between Kyrie and Mordred? I'm going to quote a certain Guardians of the Galaxy 2 here.
I was waiting for this.
Arthur may have been your father, but he sure wasn't your daddy. You're now thinking...
Honestly, he's not wrong.
I'm not wrong. And honestly, that kind of makes their relationship all the more endearing and fantastic in the fact that their chemistry, their histories together, where one is kind of always looking to compete with their father, but actually kind of looking up and admiring the role that they had and the burden on their shoulders was a really interesting thing. And the curse of, like, Kyrie's family, that he can't inherit an heir, and he wanted to bring his daughter back. And the idea that these two have a father-daughter or father-son relationship works so well, and it's genuinely touching, and I really actually felt a lot with these two characters. Patrick Seitz is great. But now let's talk Lindbeck, because Lindbeck is like this bratty, trashy teenager going through a hardcore rebellious phase in the form of a traitorous, disowned knight. There's so much snark and strength in her voice, but a sense of playfulness and vulnerability seeping through the brave facade, and she chases after cats. Also, I realize why I like Mordred so much, is that she gives me a major Ryuko Matoi vibe. That fuck yeah motherfucker, I'm gonna kick the shit out of everybody, but actually I really want to help my friends out. Or in this case, Kyrie. And the tone that Lindbeck gives is so badass and gruff and tomboy, but it works so well for Mordred. These two are some of the best characters in the show, and I'm still forever mad that the show basically robbed them so Semiramis could have their moment. These two are fantastic. These two are great. They're some of the best characters in the show, bar none. Erica Lindbeck, Patrick Seitz, hats off to you. You done good. Done.
I'm surprised Fatty actually made it through the whole show.
I am too.
And he has a kid, apparently.
He has a cute little fat bastard.
What?
I can't do this. I mean, I wish that Siegfried would have stayed around the whole show and not died in episode 4, because he was a great performance and probably one of my favorite characters. But of course, if this show made good decisions, Siegfried would have lived. The big dude, Gordis, I thought he was really good, and he sounded really pompous and like a jackass. But I feel like at times he also, when Gordis started to be nice to people, he also was, like, able to let it go and start being a nice guy. And then, Shishigo,
You can just call him Kyrie, it's probably easier.
Kyrie was great. I do wish that the show had not written where he explained his backstory, like, he was so nonchalant about it. Because, like, it's clear that it obviously meant a lot, but I really liked Patrick Seitz doing his Patrick Seitz thing. I liked that it was kind of Patrick Seitz the straight man for once, not Patrick Seitz the goofball, like I'm used to hearing, or Patrick Seitz the undeniable ham. And then Erica Lindbeck as Mordred was, like, A+. She is my favorite female servant in the show. She's not my favorite servant on Red because I love Karna too much. But god, did she get shafted for Semiramis. Like, that final scene between the two of them was so beautiful. Where she's like, hey master, can I have one of your cigarettes? This is awful.
That was so
and
good.
like, she finally realizes what she really wants, and I think Erica Lindbeck, I'm pretty much convinced Erica Lindbeck is actually Mordred in real life.
I could see it, yeah.
But yeah, hats off to the two of you. I just wish that you didn't get shafted.
The cigarettes at the end was, that hurt me.
Alright, so while these two are recovering, Roots?
Yeah, let's start with Siegfried and Gordis, who really, they don't do a lot in terms of the show. I mean, Siegfried dies early, and Gordis is just kind of shoved into the background. Honestly, there was a point where, it was implied that Avisa Braun was looking at the humans basically as the fuel source for his golem, and I was kind of hoping it would have been him. Because he was a jerk throughout the entire first half of the show. But I do like the fact that he kind of warms up to people in the second half, and he actually becomes a decent character. And I think the performance was fairly good. Let's get to the meat of this, though. Saber of Red and Kairi. I really love the father-daughter dynamic. And I love that it was basically immediate, even if the both sides couldn't admit it to themselves. And that scene at the end was absolutely beautiful, and yeah, Semirama's surviving kind of undercut a lot of that.
Fuck you, show, for that.
And I'll pass it on to Jet.
Okay. So it's been a while since I've really heard Ben proxcate anything, but I liked his Siegfried. While it was definitely on the gruff side, he was able to get across a lot of the emotion, and he really hit where he needed to, and I really felt for him during that whole scene where he decided to sacrifice himself for Sieg to sort of prove his heroism. I thought that was neat. Gord's was pretty much just a jerk, but Brad Venable was good at getting across how prophecy was. I mean, and while I didn't totally buy the whole nice guy transformation, I thought it was pretty interesting character development, and I really liked all the interactions between him and that homunculus girl. I thought they were all pretty funny. But of course, the real winners in this section are Patrick Seitz and Erica Lindbeck, because they pretty much got to be the two best characters in this entire show. So Patrick Seitz is no stranger to mysterious cool guys, but hey, he's great at those, and who cares? But anyway, I really liked the whole laid-back attitude of both his performance and the character himself. And I really liked just kind of seeing him shrug off all the insanity, where he's just kind of it's Grail War or whatever. And Erica Lindbeck's Mordred, it was just fantastic. And she was great at sounding haughty, sarcastic, and while also being able to flip it around and sound really goofy or be really emotional and kind of teenage. And it was by far my favorite performance of the show, and I'd actually go so far as to say it was my favorite performance from Erica Lindbeck, period. However, the thing that really made that work for me was Patrick Seitz and Erica Lindbeck's performances, where they were just the chemistry between the two of them. Watching the characters interact was always a really great time, and I loved how it sort of gradually became a parent-child relationship. And I very much appreciate that the show had enough subtlety to never outright bring that up. Not even when you find out Mr. Sage actually used to be a dad. And I thought that was a really great touch. So I got nothing but praise for these two folks. I mean, I do kind of wish the show had followed them instead, but... Okay. And with that, we are out of the groups, and it is time to get down to our main three.
Are we combining them? Dude, it's 2.5 hours.
We have to recombine them, yeah.
Dude, Jet, we gotta combine them.
Okay, fine, we're gonna combine them at the same time. Okay, so we have Shiro Kotomine, we have Jeanne d'Arc, and we have our main character, Sieg. Okay, so, going first with Shiro. At first, I assumed Shiro von Fanfic here was an original character made up for the story, but it was a good thing I double-checked, because it turns out that his true identity, Shiro Amakusa, was actually a real historical figure.
Really?
Yes. So basically, he was born in 1621 as the son of devout Catholics, and he was known among other Japanese Catholics for his charisma, and was believed to have been given divine power from God. Around 1637, at the young age of 15, he became a Ronin, and he led a peasant rebellion against the shogunate in response to heavy taxes and the prohibition of Christianity, and they managed to take Omahara Castle. Unfortunately, he was betrayed by one of the other rebel soldiers, and the shogunate took back the castle while slaughtering almost 40,000 rebels, women and children included. Shortly afterwards, Shiro Amakusa was captured and executed, with his head displayed on a pike in Nagasaki as a warning to the other Christian rebels. His story in Fate lore, on the other hand, is a little more complicated, obviously. So, similar to the historical legend, he was believed to have had divine powers, but the Japanese Catholics at the time worshipped him as the son of God, while in reality, he just kind of happened to be born of age. So he led the rebellion against the shogunate, and was eventually betrayed and executed. But while he accepted responsibility for his failure, watching so many of his allies get killed made him determined to create a new and better world if ever given a second chance. So, sure enough, he got summoned as a servant in the previous Holy Grail War, and when his master was defeated, Shiro managed to come into contact with the Greater Grail and obtain his own flesh and blood body, so he kind of avoided dying. So he bided his time, got in good graces with the Masons Association so he could mediate the next Grail War, and then he worked his way in as a participant, which pretty much brings us to the main story. Okay, and as far as Ruler goes, so Joan of Arc was one of the easier historical figures to look up, but for anyone who doesn't know about her, she was originally a peasant girl who lived in medieval France, and it was believed that she was chosen by God to lead her people to victory in the war against England. She eventually convinced the Crown Prince to allow her to lead an army into the city of Orleans, where they managed to drive back the English. However, after the prince had been crowned king, she was captured by the English forces, and was eventually tried for witchcraft and burned at the stake. The version of her story in Fate is more or less the same, albeit with some extra prose about her having surrendered most of her emotions and whatnot. And her death apparently drove her companion Gilda Reyes insane, and it's the reason he turned to the dark arts instead of having practiced it like the outset according to history. Okay, and then our protagonist, Sieg, is a homunculus who was originally created to be used as a tool in the Holy Grail War, but manages to retain free will, and eventually gets pretty involved with the war for his own reasons. Okay, so playing Shiro, we have Max Mittelman. Playing John, we have, and rounding out the great Erica Trinity, we have Erica Harlacher, and then for Sieg, we have Zach Aguilar. So Max Mittelman is, of course, a pretty big name on the Cali scene these days. Some of his other work includes Adult Konohamaru in Boruto the Movie, Hikaru in Lull the Sea, Saitama in One Punch Man, and Inaho in I'll Know Zero. Okay, Erica Harlacher is another pretty big face of Cali these days. Some of her other work includes Elizabeth in The Seven Deadly Sins, Blood Leopard in Excel World, Kurapika in Hunter x Hunter, and Princess Salem from I'll Know Zero. Okay, and Zach Aguilar, despite the fact that he's pretty young, he's been doing anime for a good while, and some of his other roles include Genos in One Punch Man, Holt in Hunter x Hunter, Sakaki in Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans, and Slade in I'll Know Zero.
Alright, okay.
There's one that he forgot to mention, but I'll do that when Andrew is done.
Okay. Alright, give me a second. I'm just trying to get myself back into this. Two of these can go pretty quickly for me. Max Mittelman as Shiro, he's good. He's good. He's pretty good at being Max Mittelman in this character that is like 3 different Fate characters and also a historical figure in one. He's weird. Max Mittelman's good. Zach Aguilar, he's an interesting tone of voice. I wasn't sure what to think of him as a leading man, but for the particular character that Sieg was, he works. And I think he does a pretty good job. There's one role I really want to talk about that we'll talk in a later episode, but I think Zach as Sieg does a pretty good job with the way he's given. The one I really have the most to talk about is Ruler, aka Jean, aka Erica Harlacher. Because Erica Harlacher, I've come to realize, is probably one of my favorite actresses currently in Cali, or at least one of my current active actresses over there. I really enjoy the specific tone that she has. She's much more mighty and strong in conviction, but really vulnerable, sweet, and caring, and just I've been pretty impressed and really enjoying her performance as Ruler, especially like with what she's got to work with it. I've also come to the realization that Erica Harlacher is the official voice of all hot blondes. think about it. Jeanne d'Arc. On to Kamiki from Persona 5. Kaede Akamatsu. Danganronpa V3. Kurapika! Kurapika! Need I say more? Kurapika's hot as shit too, let's be real here.
But she's not Ellie from Love Live, so therefore she is missing
Okay,
one.
fair enough. But I really like, I just find that funny. She plays a lot of hot blondes. But no, I really like Erica Harlachter's voice. I really like what she does with Ruler. I like the voice that works with Ruler. I adore the character design of Ruler. It's one of the coolest designs in Fate to me, and it's really cool and interesting. And that's why it bums me the fuck out that this show totally botched this character. Oh, this one actually disappoints the shit out of me. I've been playing Devil's Advocate for a lot of this. I'm not gonna lie, this one actually bugs the crap out of me. Here for a couple reasons. One, she is the system, and she is the main heroine. She is the main heroine, but she is the main system. And being the system in the system that is Fate means you get fucked. Means you get fucked and ruined and broken and destroyed and made irrelevant. The fact that the main heroine has been made the system of this game puts her at a disadvantage from the very beginning, and I think that kind of really hurts this character. She's got some really cool moments. She's got some great moments with fight. I actually do like when she purifies Jack. I like the battle she gets with Adelante, and I think she's got some really cool stuff in the first part. But I really despise the fact that the show decided so hard to job her out. That's the term. She gets jobbed hard in this, and that bums the fact out of me. And here's the thing, she also becomes the major romance interest, and that becomes an important part of her character for Sieg, for better or worse.
Boo.
Which I wouldn't.
The answer is for mostly worse.
I wouldn't mind the romance angle if she didn't get jobbed so hard. I also learned that her final super noble phantasm was supposed to do a lot more damage to Shiro, but it looks like it doesn't do shit to Shiro, and that bums the fuck out of me because it's like apparently supposed to be a broken noble phantasm, and it looks like it does fucking nothing. I love Erica Harlacher as Jeanne. I really love Jeanne's design, character, etc. Apocrypha really botched her, and that's probably the most disappointing thing to me about this show. And I pass this on to Megan and Roots, who probably have more to say about her and the other two characters.
Well, this is a giant, almost 3-hour train wreck. Jesus Christ. First of all, before I start, hey Andrew.
Yes, Megan?
What's the name of the character that Zach Aguilar plays in Hunter x Hunter?
Colt.
It's called Poop.
Every time, fucking... Yes, he's Poop. Shut up.
It's Ant Queen Poop. I'm sorry, I needed that. I've been having a shitty night.
Okay. That's...
I've had a shitty day. Not a shitty night interacting with you guys. Let's make this quick. Max Middleman does a really good job playing a villain. I don't think I've ever heard Max Middleman play a villain before. I think he played Shiro McOC really well. I just wish Shiro McOC was a better character. Zach Aguilar as, Whitebread, I mean Sieg. I mean, how do you fuck up somebody turning into a dragon? Oh, that's right, you do this. He was great. He's a lot more improved than the first time I ever saw him, because I really did not like, Zack as Genos in One Punch Man. But I think that the direction here for him was better, and I think the character itself, I think, suited his voice a little bit more. Erica Harlacher plays Jeanne d'Arc, aka Jeanne the Plot Convenience. I really wish that she kept the tempo up in the beginning. I also don't like the whole aspect where you couldn't tell the difference, honestly, between her and Leticia, the girl that Jeanne possesses.
I think that you can tell it a little bit, actually. Which I
thought you could tell very easily, actually.
I could not. And I don't know if it's because I just thought that the character of Jeanne d'Arc just got so fucked up in the last half of the series. Because I have a huge issue with her becoming the love interest for Sieg. I just feel like it kind of just got thrown in there because they're like, well, fuck, we're not brave enough to make Sieg's romantic partner Alstofo, which it should have happened.
Okay, sorry, continue.
But I think Erica Harlacher does an amazing job playing her. I love Jean's character design. I love Jean's voice. I think that she did a great job, and I'm not going to ramble anymore, so Roots, go.
Alright, guess I'll start it off with Shiro. I will echo Megan's sentiments. I don't think I've heard Max Mittelman as a villain. It's sort of the same dynamic with Kyle McCarley in Devilman Crybaby, where I'm not used to the actor in an antagonistic role, and I really kind of liked it. Even though, you know, character of Shiro's really just kind of stale white bread.
Wait until Unlimited Blade works.
Yeah, I've heard. I really liked Erica Harlacher, I'm sorry. Bleh, it's a late night. I liked her as Jeanne d'Arc. Hate to say it, there really wasn't a lot to her character other than just kind of showing up and being a plot device, so...
That bums me out.
I know. Like, there's...
Why was she made to be a love interest? Why, show? Why?
Like, there were really interesting things you could have done with a Joan of Arc character, and it really kind of annoys me that the show botched it.
And I'm told they do things in the series with her as an interesting Joan of Arc character. It's just... not a lot of it seems to be here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just some weird carryover from Fate Stay Night, but I didn't like that bit in Fate Stay Night.
I feel it would have made more sense for the plot than if she was the servant that Sieg gets. Like, I know we really like the Astolfo Sieg angle. I do too, but if you wanted to just do Shiro and Saber again, just do Shiro and Saber again. It's more easier and less complicated than whatever the fuck the ruler thing is.
Yeah. Now, this brings us to Sieg. Sieg is... I should probably preface this that I really liked Zach Aguilar's performance. He has really improved since One Punch Man. But... Sieg, who gets every opportunity to survive as long as he walks away from the Holy Grail War. And what does he not fucking do? He doesn't fucking walk away from the fucking Holy Grail War. Ah! Like, he is given every opportunity to live a normal human life. He's given the heart of Siegfried. He's...
Can I make a...
Berserker of Black indirectly sacrifices herself.
Can I make a joke?
Sure.
Gee, Sieg, how come your writer lets you have 3 different servants? Because I need to save the world. Just imagine that with the fucking hot dog kid.
Gee, Sieg, why does your mom let you have 3 noble phantasms?
Oh! And can we get to the penultimate episode where, out of nowhere, he uses Berserker of Black's Noble Phantasm?
It was so cool, but God, was it dumb.
I don't understand. But oh my god, I'm gonna be ranting here all day, so I should pass it on to Jet. I really like the performance. It's just, I have a lot of problems with the character. So, go ahead and take it before I start again.
Okay. So this is the first time we've ever really got to hear Max Mittelman be an anime baddie, and it's pretty good. I like how Ishiro has a sort of, like, creepy monotone that's, like, it's noticeable, but it sounds subtly enough that it doesn't sound, like, distracting whenever he speaks. It also sort of helped to make those moments where he did, like, finally snap hit a lot harder. And him flipping out at Sieg towards the end was probably the biggest highlight of his performance. I do kind of wish he had a little bit more to work with, though, since, I mean, let's face it, Shiro just wanted to do instrumentality. And I feel like bad guys in anime need to stop thinking that instrumentality is a good evil plan. I mean, it only ever really worked that one time in Eva, and heroes will always stop you whenever you try to aim for it, so I mean,
Roses are red, Ray's hair is blue, it's the third impact, let's turn into goo.
That's a new one. That's a new one, thank you.
Seriously, anime, stop doing instrumentality. Come up with something original, please. Okay, so I suppose I'll talk about Zach Aguilar next. So he's sometimes been a little bit hit or miss for me, depending on how he's directed, but this was definitely one of the better things I've heard from him. While the way it ended was kind of just like a giant shrug, I kind of liked Sieg's arc of sort of gaining his own sense of individuality, and getting a pretty in-depth look at like the best and worst of people. I thought that Zach handled all that pretty well, and I appreciate how his performance got like a little bit more emotive with time as Sieg sort of gained like a stronger sense of independence. I mean, it wasn't my favorite performance in the show, but it was a pretty solid one, and I'm hoping that Zach Aguilar will have more chances to show off more of what he can do. But the big one here was, of course, Erica Harlacher. So for a long time, Erica Harlacher was just kind of like there in the background for me, like an actress. So, I mean, like, I never really like disliked any of the things she did. It's just like she didn't really stand out to me for a long time. But ever since she landed the role of Kura Peak in Hunter x Hunter, I've been like more and more impressed with the depths of her range. And her work here is certainly no exception to that, since it's some of the best stuff I've seen from her yet. I really like how she made John sound sort of like emotionally distanced, which not only worked in regard to like her character arc of bringing former emotions out that she's been suppressing, but it also made it easier to contrast the difference in tone between John and Letitia, the girl she was possessing. Because I know you said you couldn't tell which one was which during any given scene, but I could kind of tell simply by how much she was emoting, and it sort of added a little bit more to the character for me. As for John herself, much as I like to do, I'll be honest in admitting I wish her arc wasn't just about becoming more emotional because she's fallen in love with a dude, because...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my least favorite part of the Fate Stay Night stuff is, like, the Fate root and all this she wrote Saber stuff, and I mean, it wasn't nearly as annoying as some of that stuff was. But it did remind me of that stuff, and I do kind of wish they had given her something else to do. But either way, I really liked Erica Harlacher's performance here, and I'm really becoming more and more impressed with her as an actress, so I really hope she keeps on continuing to do great things.
Amen.
And with that, it is time to move on to final thoughts.
Oh my god. Alright, I'll make mine quick. It's been a long night. Fate Apocrypha, it's Fate popcorn. It is essentially Fate popcorn, and I think... Fate popcorn is, I think, because it is a popcorn blockbuster thriller in a lot of it, and it actually works at being a really cool action show for the first and third of it with some actually pretty interesting characters. The problem is it also tries to be a Fate series, and it tries to be philosophical and weird, and that doesn't quite seem to work and mesh well with this writer. And this writer kind of tries a lot of different ideas, and not all of them really stick to the wall. Some fall flat really badly, actually. Some are underused. Some aren't underrepped. The good ideas, there's good ideas and really cool moments. There's some real bad ideas and dumb moments in there too. But I kind of expected at least to have fun with this one, and I did have fun. There's characters I liked, there's characters I didn't like, there's some missed opportunities, there's some real highs in animation I've never seen on TV before. So even then, I still had fun.
Time for me to do this as quick as possible so that this isn't as long as it needs to be. This show was bad, in my mind. As somebody who has never watched a Fate show in her life, other than, like, who's actually sat down and watched a Fate show, this show was a mass disappointment from what I've been told is a franchise that is exceedingly good. I have tons of friends who are into this, and I am disappointed. Son, I am disappointed. However, that is not to say that this dub is disappointing. It is actually far from it. If it was not for this dub, I do not think I would have got through the show. And for once, I'm going to give a controversial take. Thank God this was on Netflix. I would have dropped this show if it was a Funimation simuldub or a later release by Aniplex akin to something like March Comes Like a Lion or Anawana. I was severely disappointed in the show, thought the dub was really great. Do wish that they wouldn't have done some triple and double casting, but unfortunately it is what it is. We don't know what Japan said. I'm not going to call them lazy or anything from it, because I think that's far from what happened. Anyway, I would totally say if you're into watching dumb shit happen, go watch it. If you're looking for good story or good character dynamics, outside of a couple of characters, go watch, like, Unlimited Blade Works. There's 0.
Okay, Roots?
Alright, so, I think this show had a great first half, an excellent third act until the ending where it falls flat instead of sticks it, and a middle that absolutely grinds the entire series to a halt. This dub is extremely strong, especially considering it came from Bang Zoom, who are known for fairly strong dubs in general. I have to agree with Megan on the double and triple casting, but the actors made each role feel distinct, and this is a show that I would have difficulty recommending someone start with. I would definitely suggest people start with something like Fate Zero if they want to get into the franchise. You could get in through Apocrypha, but don't do it.
I wouldn't suggest it.
Don't do it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I will pass it on to Jet.
Okay. So, all in all, I'd say I, more or less enjoyed my time with the show. I mean, it had its problems, and it's certainly no Fate Zero, but it didn't leave me quite as frustrated as I was during that whole, 3 straight episodes of monologue during the second half of Unlimited Blade Works. So it's kind of like the middle of the road for me for what I've seen of, Fate stuff so far. If I were recommending Fate to a newcomer, though, I'd so immediately point them into the direction of Fate Zero, since that story is fantastic. But if you're looking to dip your toes into a franchise, and you just want to see historical and mythical figures punch each other's teeth in, you could probably do worse. As far as the dub itself goes, though, I really dug the dub. It's a strong mix of both older and newer talent, and it made for a great time, and it's probably my favorite dub for the franchise in general, so yeah, if I had to recommend this one, it would probably be for the dub. As far as, Fate itself goes, start off with Fate Zero.
Alrighty. Alright. We're about to hit the big 3.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay, so
I apologize to whoever the editor
Oh wait,
is.
hang on. Before we go, I have one thing to say. Whatever you think of Fate Apocrypha, it's still a better use of your time than Fate Grand Order, and I will die on that hill.
I'm pretty sure Hannah's gonna come beat your ass.
I don't care, it's the truth.
Hannah, he's making fun of your game. Kick his ass.
Why are
You spend a shit ton of money on this game. Go kick his ass.
Why are you booing
By
me?
the way-
I'm right.
I'm not saying
Why
that.
boo me for such a controversial opinion?
Okay, we gotta wrap this up. Okay, so does anyone need to plug anything?
We should probably... we should probably tell people where to find the show, even though it's only one place.
You can find us on YouTube.
It's on Netflix!
Find us on youtube.com/dubtalkpodcast. We're looking into possibly doing some other places, but right now we are on YouTube. As for where you can find us, where can we find our media, of the social kind?
You can follow me at Queener2. You can follow him at Classy Spartan. You can follow him, Jet, at Divine Nega. You can follow Roots at Roots Justice.
MangaMan9000.
You can also hang out.
Correction.
Whoops, sorry, MangaMan9000. But you can also hang out with Classy and me on the Funimation Discord, where we're usually being dumb and hanging out with people like Hannah and Kanye, aka Double Three, Dark Death, M. Deller, and that loser, Spaceman Hardy.
Love you, Hardy. Love you.
Okay, anything you need to plug, Roots, or no?
I hope to be making use of my YouTube account soon, but, you know how things like that kind of end up.
Let's pop together.
Okay, so as for me, aside from social media, you can occasionally see me writing things on my blog, Animation Infinity, where I'll, review stuff every now and then. Aside from that, that's, basically it for me currently. And with that, I think we're basically done for tonight, so thanks for trooping it out with me, guys.
I love working with you fucking
Yeah,
assholes.
Team Grimgar, guys.
Team Grimgar
Yeah.
going strong.
I got yelled at by my dad. He came and banged on the door.
Damn.
Because I screamed too loud.
That's funny.
Anyway, but no, I love you motherfuckers. I can't wait till we, so wait, which Fate do I watch next now? Which one are we doing? Zero or Unlimited Blade Works?
We're doing Zero. Like, Unlimited Blade Works hasn't played off of what Zero does.
Well, we'll do Zero first, but that'll be a fun.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, is Zero the one that takes place in the past, or is that the one that...
Okay, Zero was the one that takes place in the past, and it's the best one. So, we're doing Zero.
We'll explain that to you later when we're not tired.
I need a shower, legitimately.
Alright.
And it's not because I just looked at Jack the Ripper.
Alright. Good night, everybody.
Okay, good night, everyone, and until next time,
Otaku-on and Astolfo is a really, really, really good boy. Give him all the head pats and cuddles. Good night.
優しい灯火にも似た痛み会いたいと叫ぶ